Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is 7 to make it 8 minutes past the hour, 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson in on a Friday, August 2nd. How you doing out there? Everything good? All right, we got a lot of ground to cover here today. A lot of stuff, a lot of news that has come since you went to work today. And if you're trying to get home, I'm going to bring you up to date on the very latest. I want to start with the latest on the assassination attempt on Donald Trump and the investigation into what went wrong. The FBI is conducting an investigation. Homeland Security is conducting an investigation. The House and the Senate are conducting their own investigations. But today, for the very first time since that event on July 13th, the Secret Service held a press conference. I don't know. Maybe it had something to do with this little bit of information. There's an AP poll out there that say that only about 3 out of 10 Americans are extremely confident that the Secret Service can keep the presidential candidate safe from violence. The survey also found that about 7 in 10 Americans think that the Secret Service bears at least a moderate amount of responsibility for the assassination attempt. I have another poll out here that says 6 in 10 Republicans see the Biden administration hand in Trump's shooting. So there's a lot of sentiment out there that is not very favorable right now to the Secret Service, and I think Director Ronald Rowe decided he better get out there and sort of try to, at least answer some questions. He did. He answered a lot of questions, which is, very much appreciated. When you don't often get, I can't recall ever in my entire career, I don't think I ever covered a Secret Service press conference. They're just not, that's not the way they think. They just don't do press conferences. They're the Secret Service, and they like that. So this is a bit of an unusual thing. You may have seen, if you've watched any television news coverage at all, this new video which shows the shooter scampering across the roof in the background, actually taken by one of the 2 individuals who were critically injured in the shooting. Just before the shots rang out, you can see him shooting a picture of Trump from behind, and in the background you see just this head bobbing along that roof line. And so, that's been much the discussion in the last few days. What does Secret Service Acting Director Ronald Rowe think about that new video?
It even just affirms to me that this was a failure. We should have had better protection for the protectee. We should have had better coverage on that roof line. We should have had at least some other set of eyes from the Secret Service point of view covering that. That building was very close to that outer perimeter. And we should have had more of a presence. And so as far as the timeline of him running back and forth, but the bottom line is this was a Secret Service failure. That roof line should have been covered. We should have had better eyes on that.
Yeah, that's very different than the way it came across in the congressional hearing the other day, where he seemed to be laying it off on the locals. But he's now saying, no, this was our failure. We need to own it. He was asked about the agents out of the Pittsburgh field office who were responsible largely for securing the site in advance and how they are taking it.
In the Secret Service, who is feeling this more than the men and women of our Pittsburgh field office. And I've met with them, and they are down right now. And so when I've met with them, the other day, it was very difficult. It's difficult for them. They feel like they let their colleagues down. They feel like they let the country down. And they are wearing this, and it's open. You can see it. It's an open wound that they are carrying. They are a very experienced office. And what I will say is they are cooperating with the mission assurance. They understand the gravity of this situation, and they are definitely down right now.
Well, okay, one can only imagine. Has anybody been fired? He said, no, we're on with that investigation, and our mission assurance investigation is still underway. But and he also said that he wouldn't be able to come out and tell you a lot about that when it happens, other than to say some people who were responsible that day have faced disciplinary action. They won't say who it is, and they won't say exactly what the disciplinary action is, but they will admit that someone has. So far, no one has. It's also looking like that there is a big concern. I mean, first of all, they should have covered the roof. They admit that. And then the other concern, the thing that they're working through is, why was there critical radio traffic from the local police officers who knew there was a man on the roof with a gun? Why was that information not relayed?
With respect to the radio transmissions, based on what the FBI, my colleague from the FBI testified the other day, and they are working on isolating some of those radio frequencies from the state and locals, that there was somebody who did in fact radio out that they had seen the individual with a weapon. What I can tell you is that piece of information, that vital piece of information, and by no fault of anyone, it was a very stressful situation. It did not make it over. Our detail, our counter snipers, everyone that was there that day, were operating under the assumption and under the last bit of information they had received that there was an issue that the locals were working at the 3 o'clock. That's the bit of information that we had, not anything about a weapon.
And it's not easy, he says, to fix this whole thing with regard to communications from the locals.
The interoperability challenge, it's not an easy fix. It's not as simple as just trying to figure out the local frequency of the agency you're working with and then piping that into your radio network. It requires a substantial technical fix. In the meantime, before we can get to that, what I need to have is I need to make sure that our folks, when they're out there, we use a counterpart system. On the day in Butler, we had a Pennsylvania state trooper in our security room. They also had a unified command post that had some of the other agencies that were on site that day. It is plainly obvious to me that we didn't have access to certain information, not by anybody's fault. It just so happened that there was a sense of urgency, that there might have been radio traffic that we missed. We have to do a better job of that. So moving forward, in addition to this task force that we'll provide more information on next week as we begin to stand that up, if a state or local sets up a unified command post, maybe we need to be in that room as well, as opposed to just being in another room and relying on that counterpart system. It was so apparent to me that in this incident, in the final 30 seconds, which has been the focus of what happened before the assailant opened fire, there was clearly radio transmissions that may have happened on that local radio net that we did not have. And so we have to do a better job of co-locating, leveraging that counterpart system, and this is going to drive our operations going forward.
All right, so there they are, the admissions of shortcomings with communications, admissions of shortcomings by not including that on the roof, and the investigations, the many investigations are continuing. But there's other stuff that's floating around out there. A whistleblower has accused the acting Secret Service Director, Ronald Rowe, who you just heard there, of reducing counter surveillance before the Trump shooting. The whistleblower told Republican Missouri Senator Josh Hawley that acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe personally directed cuts to the counter surveillance division, which led to the threat assessment team failing to perform its typical duties prior to the Butler, Pennsylvania rally. The senator's report comes after lawmakers grilled agency leaders on the mounting security failures at the Pennsylvania rally, where former President Trump narrowly escaped assassination. The whistleblower alleged that the Secret Service CSD division, the division that performs threat assessments of event sites before the events occur, did not perform its evaluation prior to the fateful rally in western Pennsylvania on July 13th. This is significant because CSD's duties include evaluating potential security threats outside the security perimeter and mitigating those threats during the event. The whistleblower claims that if personnel from the CSD had been present at the rally, the gunman would have been handcuffed in the parking lot after he was spotted with a rangefinder. So there you go. I mean, and there were many opportunities to interdict that person, to have a conversation with that person, to find out what they were up to. I mean, if they'd only gone over and questioned him, that might have been enough to sort of shake him up and cause him to rethink his plan of action. They certainly should have caught it when he flew the drone, but apparently their equipment that can identify drones in the area was not operating that day for some reason. They have a technology. They didn't want to talk about it a great deal, understandably so, but they have a technology that can tell you that there's a drone nearby, and when that alert goes off, you're supposed to go check out where that drone is. That wasn't operating that day. They didn't have a drone operator of their own that day, and the locals offered to put a drone up, and they said, no, I don't guess we need that. Why? I mean, there's just a whole lot of things that sort of fell through the cracks here. But one wonders whether this is, was this unusual? I'm beginning to believe that maybe over the course of time, we have always had this opinion that the Secret Service, as I like to say, was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And having been around some of those guys over the course of my career and going to many, many events where the Secret Service is in charge, I do stand sort of in awe of those people. But I saw the people who were up close and present in the personal security details. The ones who right there, who travel with the president or the former president and go everywhere that he goes. Those are the people I most often saw. There's whole different layers of Secret Service behind the scenes that you don't see that much of. And it really makes me feel like maybe some of those people got pretty sloppy here. Again, I hear you, because I'm looking at this poll that says, a lot of you don't believe that this was on the up and up, that they think it was a set-up deal. I'm having a hard time getting there with you, but I hear what you're saying, and it really is hard to believe how so many things could have gone so horribly wrong. It really is very difficult to understand. There's also one other person, a counter sniper, who's out there, and he is sending emails to everybody in the Secret Service saying that you should be ready for another assassination attempts. The agency needs to change. If not now, when? The next assassination in 30 days. Sadly, this person writes, we have fallen short for years. We look good doing it. I've conveyed these thoughts not only to supervisors, but those responsible for training us, only to be brushed off as those with less experience somehow knew more than me. Did they get cocky? Is a question that many people are at. Did they just get a little too sure of themselves? Was there a haughtiness about the Secret Service with regard to their interactions with, local police? I think maybe that's part of it as well. We'll continue to watch it 20 minutes past the hour. Well, it is back to school time, and the good folks at USS, United Structural Systems, have some back-to-school promotions. Listen, for any 10% right now off any job over $2,500, you could save some real money there, depending on the size of the project. They have same as cash options, no payments, no interest for 1 year. They have free inspections. It's always been the case. They'll come out and take a look, and you don't pay a penny until you hire them. The job is done to your satisfaction. That's right. So why don't you call today, 615-488-7855. You know the things they do if you got a foundation issue. What about a basement that needs waterproofing? I mean, right now, the weather conditions that we've had are really, sort of the perfect storm, if you will excuse that pun, for foundation issues to develop and for basements that need waterproofing. They do mold treatment and, of course, concrete leveling. Don't raise it. Don't replace it. You want to raise it is what you want to do, because it's cheaper to raise it than it is to replace it, and they can get that done in just a couple of hours for you. It's a much quicker process than you might imagine. Serving Middle Tennessee and Southern and Western Kentucky, they guarantee their best. USSTN.com for more information. Again, that number, 615-488-7855.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Recession fears after a disappointing jobs report. Another big company saying adios to the Golden State, and a sex offender here in Tennessee back in custody just one day after being released from jail. We'll have those stories at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay Harper in the newsroom. Chris Weber's behind the glass, pushing all the blinky buttons, making things work as they do every day. You're listening to The Drive. I am your friend and radio buddy, and always will be. There is, as you heard in the tease there, some bad economic news today, and I think this is perhaps something we need to keep a close eye on. I'll just give you some big numbers. We'll do a larger report here in a few moments with John Maxson from Beacon, but the Dow was down. Let's see, I wrote it down here. I think it was down, about 1.5%. The S&P was down 1.8%. The NASDAQ was down 2.4%, and officially entered what they call, there's a term for it. I can't think of the name of it, but that's a corrective. It's in corrective territory. So there you go. I mean, that's not good. All of these things not good. Why did this happen? There was an unemployment report. The economy only added about 114,000 jobs. That may sound like a lot, but they've been expecting it to be somewhere around 180. And the unemployment rate was supposed to be at 1.4. It jumped to 4.3%, 4.1, and it would jump to 4.3 instead. So those numbers, I got to tell you, are not good. The disappointing payroll growth and the sudden jump in unemployment suggest that the economy, according to Breitbart, may be headed into a recession. See, there's a thing, and I'll tell you why the markets are nervous. There's a little thing called the SAHM rule. That's SAHM, SAHM rule, that says that when the unemployment rate brings the 3-month average 50 basis points above the lowest 3-month average over the last 12 months. Historically, it indicates the beginning of a recession. Now, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said that the SAHM rule is not guaranteed. It's not like an economic rule where it's telling you something must happen, but there's been a history of it often happening after you sort of hit these particular metrics. So, this is not good, and I'm telling you, it has to do, I think, with some of the companies also that have been reporting of late have not had great reports. And so, is the economy slowing? Are we headed into a recession? This is always a concern when you're trying to bring down rampant inflation. That you sometimes in the process, what you get is a recession, which you do not want. You don't want inflation followed by a recession, but this definitely, these numbers are something to keep an eye out. And the market, at one point, I think the Dow was down 1,000 points, but it rallied toward the end and ended the day down just about 600 points. Still not good. Very interested to know what's going on. Economics can have a real impact on the elections as well. I mean, we have seen cases where you got things rocking along and everybody sort of knows what's going to happen with the election, or it's pretty clear how things are going to play out. And then the economy turns one way or the other, and it does have an impact on how people think, because what are people most often going to do? They're always going to vote their own pocketbooks. You know, if my 401k and that it's tied to the markets just took a hit, I notice. And it concerns me, right? It gets your attention. So we've had several really, really big down days, and this information about the jobless information, where it was expected to be at 4.1%, and it jumped to 4.3% instead, is very concerning because you want people to be working. It may trigger them to go ahead with a rate increase, or rate cut rather, in the interest rate, because that would be something that they would feel more compelled to do. But what good is that if you don't have a job? You know, that's the major thing. So we'll watch that. It is interesting stuff, and we'll get a more detailed report at the end of this hour when John Maxson joins us. Right now, it is 30 minutes past the hour. Time for the news with Jay Harper.
Good afternoon. It's 3:30. Happy Friday. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got some sun, a bit hazy out. It's 89 degrees. The forecast and a weekend traffic report to get you started for the weekend. That's coming up. The Labor Department has released the latest jobs report that shows the unemployment rate ticked up a bit from 4.1% to 4.3%. Here's ABC's business news reporter Alexis Christoforous.
That is the economy slowing down so much that we could possibly move into a recession, and has the Fed waited too long to cut interest rates?
Now, days after Elon Musk said that he was getting SpaceX out of California and moving to Texas, another big company says they're headed to the same place. Here's Alex Stone.
Chevron was born in California 145 years ago, announcing now it will be moving its headquarters to Houston. Chevron has been in a battle with California over climate change rules and had already moved about 7,000 employees to Houston. California sued oil companies, including Chevron, alleging billions of dollars in damage related to global warming. Chevron says the move will better allow it to engage with executives, employees, and business partners.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, Fox 17 reporting a registered sex offender who was released from another county on Wednesday was arrested yesterday after attacking two women here in Nashville. Metro Police report that 27-year-old Deontez Drew was released from a Hardeman County facility on Wednesday, and now he's accused of attacking a 23-year-old woman that was walking home from work to her Division Street apartment here in town. This man is also accused of attacking a 39-year-old woman around 2 p.m. yesterday, allegedly beating her on the head with a wooden baseball bat in the hallway of her Pine Street apartment building in the Gulch. Both victims, though, good news, they are expected to be okay. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
37 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Superfox 99.7. Brian Wilson on a Friday. Let's get you home safely. I'll give you some information. Time for this thing we do just about every day. It seems this time of year, the 2024 report, see what's going on with the campaigns. Boy, not one vote has been cast for her ever. But she became the presumptive nominee officially today, Kamala Harris. She passed the threshold needed to become the Democrat presidential nominee in what is being called a virtual roll call vote that started yesterday, and she hit the number today. She says, I'm honored to be the presumptive Democrat nominee for president of the United States, and I will tell you the tireless work of our delegates, our state leaders, and our staff has been pivotal to make this moment possible. And you know, she even goes out. This is really rich right here. She talks about how she has a people-powered campaign.
Listen, I think we all approach our campaign with the same spirit, including that this is truly a people-powered campaign.
She never had one. She's never faced the voters as president. When she ran the first time for president, she washed out before you even got to Iowa. So nobody voted for her there. She becomes the vice presidential running mate of Joe Biden because Joe Biden said he's going to have to hire. He said he promised he would hire a woman to be his running mate. And so that's how she got the job there. And then so she goes and Biden wins and she serves as vice president. Now she's the nominee of her party and she hasn't faced one. She didn't compete in Iowa. She didn't compete anywhere. She never put her name on the ballot in front of anybody. But now in this people-powered campaign, the people had no say unless you happen to be a delegate. You're the only ones who have any say in this matter. And you were already sworn to Joe Biden anyway, so you're going to do whatever he tells you to do. So, yeah, people-powered you-know-what. I love this headline. It's one of the best headlines I've seen about her. Unburdened by what has been, Harris hasn't renounced a single radical position. In the past 2 weeks of becoming the presumptive Democrat nominee with absolutely zero popular votes, she has not addressed a single one of those past positions. Instead, her spokespeople have insisted she doesn't hold those extreme positions. Neither she nor her spokespeople have explained why or when she changed her mind. They simply said, well, no, she doesn't hold that position anymore. Okay, well, that would require a good inquisitive journalist to ask some questions. The problem is she won't submit to any questions anywhere. Ever since she became the nominee, or since Biden stepped out and said she's the one I want, she's been out there running around the country and she's been campaigning. She has never once put herself in a position where she could be asked a question. Newsmax wants to know, can she survive by avoiding interviews? Democrats told The Hill that they were worried she will fall into the same trap as Biden, who was shielded from the press amid concern about his cognitive decline. They're not concerned about cognitive decline with Kamala Harris. They're concerned that she's a blithering idiot who can't answer questions. They know that. That's why they've got her so super scripted. You know what? It's working for her right now. I can't say that it's not. But, I mean, at some point, she's going to have to sit down and answer questions, don't you imagine? J.D. Vance, well, let me talk about this first of all. She, last night, she rushes home from Houston, right? Kamala rushes back from Houston. She went there for the funeral of Sheila Jackson Lee. She gets on the plane. They bolt back to Andrews Air Force Base so they can be there when the hostages that have been in Russian prisons are returned, and they land at Andrews, and the president and Kamala stand there. Can you imagine? You haven't seen your family in how long? You've been in prison in Russia, and before you can hug your mom and hug your dad, you have to stop and exchange pleasantries with the president and the vice president. But while they're standing there waiting, Biden looked bizarrely, had that 1,000-yard stare where he just looked off into the distance and seemed to be frozen. And Kamala was making some comments. And again, one of the few times we've seen her unscripted. And what does she do? She goes into word salad mode.
This is just an extraordinary testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy and strengthening alliances. It's an incredible day.
She talks in circles. I mean, it's like this.
Today is a day in which we all collectively look around and agree that today is the day to make the day what it is, right? But listen, full stop. Today is the day to continue to do the things that we have done and to do the things that we will do tomorrow, because yesterday was once today. And so remember, today's yesterday is tomorrow's yesterday today, right? It is. You know what I'm saying, right?
I mean, as good as that is, I have to admit that's not Kamala Harris.
It's very close, though.
That's the best impression of her that I've heard. That is a comedian by the name of Elsa Kurt, who does this I think that's a dead-on impression of Kamala Harris. She does this on pretty regularly on the internet. I'll bring you some more of that when I see some. But is that good or not? Especially the laugh.
Right?
I love that. Well, J.D. Vance is out there, and he says, look, the thing about Kamala Harris is she's a chameleon.
All he said is that Kamala Harris is a chameleon. She goes to Georgia 2 days ago. She was raised in Canada. She puts on a fake Southern accent. She is everything to everybody, and she pretends to be somebody different depending on which audience she's in front of. I think it's totally reasonable for the president to call that out, and that's all he did. I mean, look, she's running as a tough-on-crime prosecutor, even though she implemented open border policies. She's saying that she wants to support the police, yet she wanted to defund the police just 3 years ago. It's totally reasonable to call out the fact that she pretends to be somebody different depending on the audience she's talking to.
That's right. She's Kamala Chameleon. I mean, somebody's got to do that, right? Kamala Chameleon. If somebody doesn't do it, I'm going to do it, and you don't want to hear me try to sing that song, that's for sure. All right, enough of that. I mean, all right, got it. So there's all of that. She's just all that in a bag of chips, isn't she? Now I need to talk to you about some news that you may not like. I don't know how, I'm going to have a longer conversation, but I don't know how to win here. Because when I was telling you that the polls look good and that the wind was at Trump's back and that, everything was where it needed to be, had it dialed in, a lot of you would criticize me and say, that's not accurate. You can't trust those polls. And then they sort of came at me for giving you the news that I thought was pretty positive news. And it was. Trump was doing really, really well. He was doing well in the battleground states. He was doing good in the general election. It's hard to find any poll where Biden wasn't doing well. But now that we have Kamala, I have to tell you, and I need to be serious about this, it has changed. It is not where it was. Here's the Washington Examiner. Trump victory goes from sure thing to toss-up and major poll reversal. Former President Donald Trump is no longer guaranteed a victory against Vice President Kamala Harris, according to a major polling guru. This talks about Nate Silver. And I'm not a big fan of Nate Silver, but I think he's right in this. He says it's a toss-up, and it could go either way. You could call it almost a flip. And in fact, I think and since this story was printed, I think he has actually come out and sort of gone more in the direction of, I think Kamala Harris can win this thing. That's going to be pretty interesting to see. I don't know if she can or not, but I got to tell you, when I look at the numbers, no real numbers today, but I've been watching them closely for the last few days. They are tightening. In the battleground states, they are tightening. And in the general election, they are tightening and maybe even surging a little bit. So, you don't want it. You don't want to hear me when I tell you the good news, and a lot of you don't want to hear me when I give you the bad news. But we need to be aware that the nomination of Kamala Harris has changed this race in a serious way. It is tight. It is tight as a tick. It is. I promise you, it is. Trump saying he may not debate. Right now, I say, why should I do a debate? And I would say, well, I think that one of the main reasons you do a debate is it puts her in an unscripted situation, and she doesn't do well in unscripted situations, and you do pretty well in unscripted situations. Why don't you get her out there and then make her forced to speak on her own without, all of her teleprompter and all of the prepared remarks? I think you really should, but I don't know if they're going to have a debate or not. He has gone back and forth on this, but right now it seems as if he's leaning against it. And I think that's a bad idea. I think he should go for it. I really do. Google has been exposed for omitting Donald Trump from search results. If you write President Donald and then stop, it doesn't suggest, as it should, like it would in any other situation, President Donald Trump. The first reference is President Donald Duck. I don't know why, but it does. That's the first search response you get, and this is it's bad enough that you got the mainstream media pulling for the Democrats. It's bad enough that you got the social media platforms, with the exception of X, out there, and they're pulling for the Democrats and making it difficult for conservative thought and ideas and important conservative stories to get through. Now you got search engines that are out there that are now, with their thumb on the scale, trying to make sure you don't get as much information about Donald Trump as you do about the Democrats. This is the same if you go assassination attempt on TR and you start to spell the word Trump, you get all of the suggestions. None of them are Donald Trump. One of them is assassination attempt on Teddy Roosevelt, but it doesn't make any mention of Donald Trump. So it's really sort of strange. And then I want to end with this in our 2024 report. The Ohio Secretary of State has found 499 more, as if they'd already found a bunch, more non-citizens who were registered to vote in the state of Ohio. Now, Ohio's a pretty Republican state, but another day, another bundle of non-citizen voter registrations discovered on voting rolls around the country. On Thursday, Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose announced he was directing local election officials to remove nearly 500 foreign national registrations from Ohio voter rolls. The suspected illegal registrations were detected as part of a statewide audit of Ohio's voter registration database. With a little more than 3 months to go before November's presidential election and a little more than 2 months before early in-person and absentee voting begins in the Buckeye State, the need to clean up the roll is becoming more urgent every day, with a projected 10 million illegal immigrants encounters at the U.S. border under President Joe Biden's watch. The very real possibility that some non-citizens could vote in November's election. Well, in a tight race, it could tip the balance of the outcome, particularly in critical battleground states. 51 minutes past the hour.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
I do everything from scrubbing cages to asking people for donations to answering the phones and helping facilitate getting animals to the rehab. I'm there on the weekends, up there taking care of animals with the team.
You got a great team there. It's a small team, but a great team that works together. And
I started about 20 years ago. My dear friend Carol Burgess founded Harmony in Fairview.
Okay.
And we decided to reopen it in West Nashville. And we are rocking along. lots of animals. One of the primary calls that we get are, I found a bird, it's on the ground, what do I do? And in most situations, you should let it alone unless there's an imminent danger to that animal, because the parents are helping it and feeding it, and it just needs a couple of scary days on the ground until it gets back up into flight. What about bunnies, Melody? Can we give advice about bunnies?
The bunnies, they're just the sweetest, most innocent creatures, and we just see the worst things happen to them. Cats, dogs, lawnmowers, weed whackers.
In most cases, if the animals aren't injured, if you can put the rabbits back, that's always better to be with the mother rabbit than to come to us.
All the storms that have been coming through and just destroying nests, and a lot of babies will be found on the ground. Re-nesting is possible and preferable.
You play the video calls and you put the baby near where they found it, and the mama will actually come down and pick it up and then bring it back.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that cool?
Nice.
The U.S. Secret Service conducting a very rare press conference today. Another major company bolting from California, and a court reversal goes in favor of the NFL. We'll have those stories at 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, let's take a look at the markets. As I mentioned earlier, not a really good day. Dow Jones Industrials down 610 points. It was worse at some points. At 500, S&P 500 down 100 points. NASDAQ in correction territory. It's down 417, almost 418 points. What's going on here? I think it has to do with the jobs report. John Maxim will have details on that from Beacon Capital Management. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. You're right. The NASDAQ has been everybody's hero, and it's now in correction territory. And a lot of what we're seeing in the volatility of the market over the last couple of weeks has to do with a couple things. Tech earnings has disappointed for really the first quarter in a while, but the big story today is that jobs report that came in a lot worse than what the market was anticipating. Now the fear is that we're going to potentially see a recession. We'll see about that, but it was a lot worse than expected. Unemployment rose from 4.1 to 4.3. That was unexpected. And so now there's going to be a lot more pressure on the Fed to begin to lower interest rates, but that's probably not going to happen until September. So we'll see if the market settles in next week or it begins to continue this correction, but a pretty rough week this week.
All right. Thank you very much, John. Listen, to find out about all the things that John Maxon and the good people at Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for your retirement, just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. 59 past the hour.
Good afternoon. It is 1 minute past 4 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Some sun, a bit of haze, 90 degrees, a complete forecast, and that traffic report coming to you here in just a bit. The new acting director of the U.S. Secret Service discusses the agency's failures back on July 13th. ABC's Dave Packer has more.
One of the points of failure in the minutes leading up to the attempted assassination of former President Trump, communications. Local and state law enforcement identifying and discussing a suspicious individual nearby. But, says Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe,
it did not make it over to us, or whether we did not hear it, it just did not make it over to us.
Rowe making it clear that local and state law enforcement did what they were supposed to do that day.
This was a Secret Service failure, and so they should not be blamed.
Another big company bolting out of California, that would be Chevron. They've announced that they're moving their headquarters from San Ramon, California, down to Houston, Texas. Around 2,000 employees work at the current office. The company, though, saying those now working in California should see minimal impacts. Jim Wunderman, he's the CEO of the Bay Area Council.
It's disarming to see such a major company and a mainstay of the Bay Area and California business community and economy leave our state.
And as was just discussed with Beacon Capital and Brian, stocks nosediving today after the government's employment report showed far fewer jobs created in July than expected. We hear once again from Dave Packer.
The Labor Department's latest numbers show the red-hot pace of job creation is cooling fast. Wall Street taking the news hard, the Dow plummeting more than 800 points at the midpoint of Friday's trading. This as unemployment reaches its highest level since October of 2021. Given the job slowdown, some economists saying the Federal Reserve made a mistake in not cutting interest rates earlier this week. The next opportunity for a rate cut won't come until the Fed's next meeting in mid-September.
And finally, in late June, a jury verdict against the NFL from a court in Los Angeles made big news. Now, that verdict, it's been tossed out in a big win now for the Football League. Alex Stone reports on that story.
A jury awarded NFL Sunday Ticket subscribers $4.7 billion in a class action lawsuit finding the NFL violated antitrust laws in distributing out-of-market games on its premium subscription service. The lawsuit covering 2.4 million residential subscribers who paid to see out-of-market games. But now the judge has overturned the jury's verdict, ruling that the testimony of two witnesses had flaws. A judge saying the jury did not follow instructions to exclude that testimony.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It is 8 minutes past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. It's hour number 2 of the Drive on a Friday, and this is, of course, the hour in which we will have our first round of Phone Your Farb Friday coming up in just a bit here, about 35 minutes past the hour. That's when we open up the phone lines, and you can say anything you want to say, and we love to hear from you. And to that point, well, first of all, before we get to that, Chris just picked up on something he saw online, which may give us an indication of where Kamala Harris is going for her vice presidential running mate. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe this was somebody who wasn't supposed to have said something just yet. Fill us in there, Chris.
Yeah, and thanks to Joe on the Members Nutrition Super Text line for passing this along. The mayor of Philadelphia's Twitter feed, or X feed, Sherelle Parker is her name. Her page posted this 2 hours ago, and it's actually the pinned post at the top of her feed. It says, quote, "Proud to be back with so many leaders from across our region supporting Kamala Harris for president and Josh Shapiro for vice president." And then it attaches with like a little campaign video with a bunch of, Philadelphia people and saying we support blah, blah,
he
blah.
Being, of course, the governor of the state of Pennsylvania.
Josh Shapiro, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's interesting because, I mean, she needs Pennsylvania in a big way. Whoever wins Pennsylvania may well just win this whole thing. And I'll get to have some thoughts about Pennsylvania, and we'll keep an eye on that, see if that turns out to be right. I mean, sometimes, I got to tell you, it does leak out. I remember having the Dan Quayle thing 10 hours before it was announced publicly, and it just rankled me. Today I would have put it on the internet, and it would have been, Wilson files this report, and I would have been way ahead of everybody. But we didn't have the internet in the way we do now. We didn't have X or Twitter or social media platforms, and I didn't have a newscast that came on. It didn't come on until 10 o'clock. So there was no way, 10 o'clock at night, there was no way I could get that information on the air. It was the most frustrating day of my life to have the big story and not have a pathway to report it. So, I mean, it does leak out. It really does. So we'll keep an eye on that for sure. Now, again, in about 25 minutes from now, we're going to be doing our first round of Phone Your Farb Friday. And one of the things that I'd like to talk to you about in advance of that, did you ever have one of those things where you come home and your spouse says, "Sit down, we got to have a talk." Ugh. You know it's not going to be pleasant. You know something's going on. You know that, well, I need you to focus with me for just a moment. Audience, sit down. I need to have a talk with you, and I need your guidance. I do. Because in the last few days, you may have heard me being not too shy about saying that I think the Trump campaign is screwing up, that they're not on message, and they're not doing the things they need to do to get the message across. And when I do that, you get mad at me. Now, I feel pretty strongly that I'm right about this, and I don't know why you would be mad at me, but you are, and I need to know: do you want me to tell you the things you want to hear, or do you want me to have a conversation with you that where I give it to you the truth as best I can discern it? I need to know which of those things you want, because, there are a lot of people in talk radio who will just pump sunshine. They'll give you just what you want to hear. They're not going to be. They're just going to. I know what my audience wants to hear, and I'm going to give it to them whether it's right or not. And I feel a different responsibility. I feel a different responsibility to come to you with the information that I know is correct based on my experience, and the fact that I have been around the block a few times. I don't know what to do, because I don't want you to be mad at me, but by the same token, I feel an obligation to tell you the things as I see them. That's my job here, not to tell you, not to pump sunshine, but to give you the truth as best I can discern it. Now, my truth may be not always right, but I have a pretty good record of getting things right. Did I get it right about Joe Biden? Yeah. Did I tell you it wasn't going to be Michelle Obama? Yeah, I got that right. There's a lot of things I've gotten right here, and I want to make sure that I'm on the right track with you. So when we get to our Phone Your Farb Friday here at 35 minutes past the hour, that's one of the things that I need to know from you. Now, what do you really want me to do? Do you want me to pump sunshine and just be, positive all the time, even when I don't think it's right? Or do you think I need to be honest with you? Because right now, the way things stand, I think we're on track to lose this thing. We weren't just the other day. We weren't. We were headed in the right direction. The wind was at Donald Trump's back. The polls were looking great. Everything was sunshine, lollipops and roses, man. I'm telling you, it was good. And then we got rid of Biden, and it became clear that Kamala Harris was going to become the nominee, and all of a sudden those numbers are not looking good. And it doesn't seem to me as if the Trump campaign has made the transition into campaigning not against Biden, but campaigning against Kamala Harris. She's got a horrible record. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff to go after here, and I don't think effectively going after it as Republicans. I don't think we're doing the right thing. I think the Trump campaign's messaging has been off, and I want to be honest with you again. You're going to be mad when I say it, but I need to be honest with you. I don't think Trump has been very disciplined about the communication process. There's lots of stuff to nail her to the wall on. Stupid things that she has said, ridiculous opinions that she has espoused. We got all kinds of stuff where she has policies that are way outside mainstream political thought in America, and that's, I think, what we need to be focusing on, and I don't think we are focusing on it. You know who else agrees with me? He says it in a nicer way than I'm saying it, because he needs to stay on the good side of Donald Trump. Vivek Ramaswamy doesn't believe that we have reorganized our campaign to take on the new person who is running as the presidential nominee, Kamala Harris.
I do believe that we need a bit of a reset in this campaign. If we're being honest and being clear-eyed, I think the reality is Kamala's new de facto nomination, coronation, whatever you want to call it, after the Republican convention was a bit of a shock that caught a lot of Republicans by blindside. And the reality is we now have to take a big step back and say, we're going to offer our own vision of what we stand for. I think the attacks on Kamala alone are not going to be enough. We're already seeing that over the last week. I think we have to stand for our own alternative vision that we believe in merit. The reason that we're critical of identity politics isn't because we're against the Democrats. It's because we stand for meritocracy, and that's part of who we are as Americans. And so as much as I'm critical of the Democrats, I also think now is a moment for a wake-up call on our own side. Yep. We need to use this as a chance to reset and level set and focus on our own vision for the future of this country. And the more we do that, the more successful we're going to be. Frankly, the less we do it, the more risk I do see heading into November.
I couldn't agree with him more. I think he's exactly right. I mean, he's talking about some of the things that are important to him, and I think everything he talked about is dead on right. Messaging is not good right now. And we're getting diverted into weird conversations that we should not be having about whether or not Kamala Harris is Indian or black. I know you loved that. I know you loved it when he got in her grill. I know you loved it so much. You're not the thing we need to worry about right now. As Republicans and conservatives and as a Trump supporter, the thing we need to be focused on right now is her radical record. Because she's out there flip-flopping all of her opinion. Let me tell you what she's got going for her that we don't have on our side. We have to be really good at what we do because she's got some advantages. Mainstream media, they are deifying this woman. They are puffing her up. They are burnishing her record. They think she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. She has been quite disciplined about coming out and giving her messages, which are carefully crafted messages that come from the communication team, where they've done all of the focus groups, and they know exactly what resonates and what doesn't. And she's on message, and she's not putting herself in a position, well, very rarely putting herself in a position where she actually ad-libs, where she has to, comment without a teleprompter. She's not taking questions. She hasn't done any interviews in the 12 days or 13 days since she's become, the person at the top of the ticket. She's hitting her marks. She's saying the things that the campaign wants her to say, and she's getting off the stage. And in addition to that, she's got the press at her back. They are absolutely doing everything they can to push her across the goal line. She's raising money. Democrats are now raising money hand over fist. She raised, since she became the nominee, are you ready for this? $310 million. Now, we're not without funds. We got about $327 million in the bank, but she raised that in very short order, and they're going to be well-funded, extremely well-funded. Commercials can get you down the path a good point, and you need the money for advertising. You need the money to hold rallies, etc. But I just need you to understand one thing, and this is the thing that I keep trying to bring home to you, and I hope it soaks through, that I'm not anti-Trump, and I'm not a negative Nelly. Believe me, when the news was good, I was more positive than most people out there. If you listen to this program, you have to acknowledge that I'm right on that. I was very positive. This is looking good. The numbers are shaping up just right. I feel like we're on the path to win. I no longer hold that position. I hold the position that the campaign is in trouble, and if it doesn't get corrected pretty quick, we're going to be in real bad shape heading into the November elections. Now, do you want me to give you the sunshine? Do you want me to make it all sunshine, lollipops, rainbows, and roses? Or do you want me to give it to you straight? I hope we'll have that conversation in the first round of Phone Your Farb Friday today, because I really need to know where you want me to be. Okay? Okay. We'll talk about the local election results in just a moment. Right now, 20 minutes past the hour. Hey, did you know gold is up 78% over the last 5 years? Silver's up 99% in the same time period. And meanwhile, the U.S. dollar has lost 25% of its value since 2020. You invested in the market? Did you look at the numbers today? Not good. The government-induced inflation is stealing your wealth, and it doesn't seem that Washington, D.C. has any plans to stop. Gold and other precious metals are a great shield from what they call inflation theft. Now, the politicians, they'll promise you that they'll rein in their spending, but you know how that goes. They just can't help themselves. This is why no matter who is in office, gold protects you from the D.C. spending sprees. Where do you go to get that protection? Well, reach out to my friends Kyle and Hannah at Nashville Gold and Coin. They will take good care of you. They will keep you well informed on all precious metals. And please act now and get your shield against out-of-control government spending. Go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com and set up your appointment today.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
A pair of Tennessee sisters are wanted for shoplifting items throughout the state worth 5 figures. We'll have that story and today's closing money news at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 24 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7, just a few minutes away from Phone Your Farb Friday after the news at 4:35. Looking forward to having an interaction with you, our listeners. I always love hearing what you have to say, and I'm anxious to have that conversation. So we'll do that in a few moments. Let's talk a little bit about the election results from yesterday's primary in Tennessee. The Tennessee Star has it right. Never Trumpers lose big in Tennessee GOP primary. The Never Trump donors who assembled to oppose Representative Andy Ogles, Tennessee 5th, and then the Thursday Republican primary were trounced by the incumbent who was endorsed by former President Donald Trump more than 1 year before the election. Ogles' victory came despite the incumbent being outraised by his opponent, Metro Council member Courtney Johnston, who also benefited from more than $600,000 in advertisings from the Conservatives with Character Super PAC, whose treasurer told the Tennessee Star its primary purpose was to see the Trump-endorsed incumbent defeated. Conservatives with Character treasurer Randy Stamps also told the Star that he represents a contingent of Republicans who are uncomfortable with Trump's influence over Republicans, stating there's still a lot of Republicans that want to think through things and not just follow some personality and let that personality totally dominate the Republican Party. There are those out there. I don't know that there are many of them, but there are. The Super PAC also received $140,000 from the Best of Tennessee, another political group that happened to be co-founded by Johnston's treasurer, the seasoned political fundraiser Kim Kagi. Shortly after receiving $140,000, Conservatives with Character launched an ad campaign targeting Ogles, and they spent a lot of money to try to take Ogles down. But the nomination, the endorsement of Trump of Ogles was enough to get him through in a significant way. The numbers were, there for a while, a little close last night, but they ultimately came through, and he won by a sizable margin. Also, President Trump has criticized Governor Lee, calling him a rhino after the primary elections. From WKRN, the former President Donald Trump took to social media to criticize Tennessee Governor Bill Lee. The former president was commenting on the results from Tennessee's primary elections. He said on Truth Social, "I went 10 for 10 on endorsements tonight in the great state of Tennessee, including Bobby Harshbarger running against a strong long-term incumbent supported by Rhino Governor Bill Lee. A great day for Tennessee. Now on to a complete and total victory in November, MAGA 2024. Of course, Rhino, that means Republican in name only, a derisive term. Governor Lee had backed John Lundberg, the incumbent candidate in the Northeast Tennessee race, and Governor Lee posted on social media he was pleased with the election results. Tonight, voters sent a clear message. It's time to deliver school choice for Tennessee families, he says. Strengthen public safety, keep our economy strong. I look forward to working with the 114th General Assembly to ensure Tennessee remains a beacon of opportunity, security, and freedom. Chris Berger, the former press secretary for Governor Lee's gubernatorial campaign, he's not running, of course, he can't run again, said the party will end up coalescing around all Republican primary winners. Of course we will. Yes, of course we would. And that's the way it should be. I mean, the worst Republican that's out there would be better than a Democrat, right? Right. So there you go. Congratulations to the winners last night in all of the contested races. Again, I don't know. It depends on where you live, whether or not you had any real choices or hard decisions to make when you went to vote. I mean, I went to vote yesterday and in my particular voting precinct, and I was in and out in about, a minute and a half. I mean, I wasn't there at all. It just didn't take me but about 15 seconds to go through the entire ballot. I knew exactly where I was going to be on things, and nothing was very difficult to decide at the last minute. But other people had a more difficult time at the election, and so it depended on where you were, whether it was a tough decision for you or not. But November looms, and we need to really now focus on that and make sure we get everybody across the goal line. Tennessee's, honestly, most of the big decisions are made in the primary. If you're primaried, that's usually your toughest election campaign. You got to worry about getting through the primary. Once you get to the primary, in most cases, not all, but in most cases in Tennessee, it's a cakewalk once you get through the primary. You're the Republican nominee. Chances are you're going to prevail unless you're in, certain precincts like Davidson County, if you're over in Knoxville, or if you're over in Memphis in the city limits, those areas, it's a bigger challenge for Republicans. But most of the state's going to go very positive. So, for example, Gloria Johnston against Marsha Blackburn, I'm not worried about that one at all. It's, she's not going to get near the votes that Blackburn will get. So, we'll look forward to it. Let's focus on November and getting everybody across the goal line, right? It is now time for the news, and after that, we'll do Free-for-All, Phone Your Farb Friday. Not Free-for-All Friday, Phone Your Farb Friday after the news at 4:35.
Good afternoon. Happy Friday. It's 4:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a bit of sun, still some haze out there, 90 degrees. A complete forecast and a traffic report are upcoming. One half of a pair of sisters linked to organized retail crime in Nashville has been taken into custody. They found her in Laverne. Maisha Miles and her sister Melissa, they're believed to have stolen thousands of dollars worth of items from various Middle Tennessee stores over the past 6 months. According to court documents, one of those women, Maisha, has she has taken items worth more than $28,000. She's 28 years old. Those are beauty products that she's suspected of taking from many Ultra stores and other locations throughout Middle Tennessee. And again, that's just since May of this year. The sister, Melissa, she is being wanted. She's still out there, and she's 25 years of age. She, too, suspected of stealing thousands of dollars worth of beauty products. We now turn to today's closing money news. We'll do that with Chuck Sievertson.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Investors worried, analysts say, after today's monthly jobs report from the Labor Department came in lower than expectations, 114,000 new hires. And the unemployment rate rose to 4.3%, the highest since October of 2021. The Dow closed 611 points lower. The broader S&P 500 lost 100, and the NASDAQ index down 418. The government report showing the unemployment rate rose for the fourth straight month, and a sign that higher interest rates may be taking a bigger toll on businesses and consumers. The news shook financial markets around the world. Intel helped lead the market lower after reporting weaker than expected profits and suspending its dividend. Treasury yields dropped as expectations built for how deeply the Federal Reserve will cut its main interest rate in September. Benchmark U.S. crude oil fell to about $73.50 per barrel. Brent crude fell to over $76 a barrel.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It's 4:38 on Super Talk 99.7. It's Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air all the way till 7 o'clock tonight on this Friday, the second day of August. You know what time it is? Yes, it's finally arrived. Time for our discussion, a thing we like to call Phone Your Farb Friday. Yeah, what's on your mind out there? What are you thinking about? 615-737-9986. Let's mix it up. Let's make it good. Let's go down there. Maybe you got a bee in your bonnet. Maybe you got a burr in your saddle. Maybe you got a bug in a place where I hope you never have a bug. Let's get on it. Climb up on our 100,000-watt soapbox and speak your piece within boundaries because, well, it is a family show. All right. Apparently, people are more than happy to have a conversation. Here we go. Bill in Woodbury, you're up with Brian on the drive.
Hi, Brian. I think of all the people I listen to and know, you probably know more about polls than anybody that I can think of. And I'm curious about something. I believe, with nothing to base it on, there's about 5 to 8% of the Democrats that were really strong, super strong for Joe Biden and thinks he more or less got a knife in the back. Do you think when they take the polls, they take into consideration a bunch of these people aren't going to vote at all because of that kicked off about the way their candidate got screwed up, and that would change the polls? And I'll hang up and listen. Thank you, Brian.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I look at polls as I assume that the people go out there and they ask the questions that they ask of the people that they say they ask them of. I assume that they're not telling me a fib about that. That is an assumption, but I think it's a safe assumption. They want to get the answers. They have clients as well, right? And so they ask the questions, and I always look at the polls as a snapshot. Of where things are at the moment, not where things will ultimately be. I mean, but there's no doubt in looking at the polls that since Kamala has become the presumptive nominee, or she's been put forward replacing Joe Biden, it's tightened. I mean, if you believe the polls before when they were good, then how can you not believe them now? So that's sort of, I believe that we were doing quite well, and I believe that now not as well. And so I never put any too much into one poll, but I look at the trend and I look at, a number of polls. Do they all tend to show the same thing? Do they all tend to show the same trend? The trend was undeniable before, and I think the trend is pretty undeniable now. Antoine, calling in from White House. Hello, Antoine. You're on with Brian on the drive.
Hey, Brian, this is Antoine Wolf of the Werewolves, and I wanted to say to you that I think the reason why some may be a little misunderstanding you maybe or not agreeing with you is because I think you're taking the polls a little too serious. I mean, even collectively, I think most of us believe they're pretty much BS, and to think that Kamala has a chance to beat Trump at all without fraud, I think that's delusional. I mean, by far, just on his ability to rally people together at the level and the quantity that he does speaks volumes. And so I think your listeners are thinking that you're taking the polls too serious.
Well, I hear that from time to time, and I always say, look, it's like I tried to just explain a moment ago. I always look at it as, well, okay, one poll, okay, I'll look at that. Is there 2 polls show the same thing? Yeah. 3 polls? Yeah. That's sort of interesting. You get 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15 polls that show the same thing, and the trend is consistent. I think you have to look at that and say, well, that tells me something. I never look at it as the final answer. And everybody said, well, what about when the polls are wrong and you had the elections and they were completely wrong? Well, you know what? I think there's a solution. I think there's a reason for that. But people don't want to hear that. But I think the reason is that's because at the last minute, undecideds drop, and you never have an opportunity to pick that up in the polls. There's just not enough time, because there are a group of people out there who, for better or for worse, don't make a decision until the last moment, literally while they're driving to the polls. And when they make that, they finally have to make a decision. There's not enough time for it to get picked up in the polls. And that's why you say, well, the poll wasn't right. Well, okay. I know this. The campaigns believe in the polls. I guarantee you Donald Trump believes in the polls. I know he does. He talks about them all the time, doesn't he? Yeah, he does. He doesn't talk about.
I don't think he believes in them.
You think he does?
He believes in them. No, I don't. I think he says that because when they're up, yeah, he's going to tout it when they're up. But no, I think he knows most of the polls are done by a lot of media.
Well, then why would he spend literally millions of dollars to conduct his own polls then?
Because, I mean, you've got to have polls to counter the phony polls. You got to at least put some out there on his end that he believes that maybe hold some water. Because how could Kamala have?
Well, some of the polls that I got to stop you on that, Antoine. Some of the polls that we talk about are polls that are actually conducted by Republican firms for Republicans.
But see, that's the thing. That doesn't mean anything to Republicans. Half the politicians are of the same cloth. I mean, come on.
Okay,
There's not
all
really
right,
that much
Antoine.
denial
I've given you a good chance there, and I appreciate the conversation, but I got to get through some other folks here. I appreciate it. I take what you say seriously. I'm not dismissing it. I appreciate the feedback. Steve in Cookeville, you're up next on the drive. What do you say, Steve?
Hey, Brian, all I want to do is say, keep the course, brother. Let me give you a little history. I'm disabled. My day is spent listening to you. I got one of those C Crane radios, and it's locked out on WTN, especially Monday through Friday, not so much on the weekends. And I really perk up when 3 o'clock rolls around, and I get to listen to you from 3 until 7 because I feel I'm getting the straight scoop. And I would ask you, please, don't change anything. Keep me and the rest of us informed because you've been down the pike and you know where the potholes are. Please stay with it, okay?
All right, thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that, those kind words. And again, I'm not looking for that. I'm not looking for you to blow sunshine. I want to know if you think I'm wrong. I mean, I really want to have a feedback conversation like with Dennis and Ashland. Dennis, can we get to Dennis? You're up next on the drive. What do you say, Dennis?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to tell you that I represent a few people in Ashland City, I think, and we got your back. Just say what you believe what you say, and and just speak what's on your heart. Don't ever change that.
All right, thank you, Dennis. I appreciate that. Stephen in Paris, calling in from Paris. Not the Paris with the Olympics, the other Paris. What's up, Stephen?
Yeah, no, not the Olympics, Paris. No way. Hey, Brian, I wonder, I know you have a lot of connections out there, man, and you stay plugged in, and I wonder if I can put you to a task to help me slay this, deal the death blow to these Democrats, man, that's been stealing our elections and stealing our freedom away time after time. So the main focus is on the mail-in ballots, the mail-in voting ballots, all right? So we know that the United States Postal Service is pretty much governed and ran by the executive branch of our government, all right? So this is how easy it is for these illegals that are coming in here to register to vote. Everybody's got a smartphone now. Everybody's got access to the internet. All they have to do is once they come in here, when they get sent to wherever they're going and they get an address, a mailing address, pretty much in 5 minutes they can get on the website for wherever they're at. They can register to vote. They're sent a mail-in ballot. They fill it out, put an address down, put their name down or whatnot, and then it goes to the local post offices. I know the process is from the post offices we have people that like security gates that
supposed
they have
to check
to
it, right?
And they have to be checked. All right. In the deep blue areas, in the
they don't get checked.
States,
No, you're right. The battleground states, you got to worry about that process. You're absolutely right. The mail-ins thing is, I mean, look, we have real ballot security here in Tennessee. We really do. We probably have the most secure balloting system of any state in the country. That's not all the way it is in other places. And in these battleground states where it goes through the mail system, you have to think of the U.S. Postal Service as the largest voting precinct in that state. More people will vote by mail than will vote in any other individual precinct. And that can change an election. And there's not many ways that you can follow up and track down fraud with mail-in ballots. It's very difficult. I mean, the signatures don't match. That's one thing. But there's a lot of ways you can abuse that system. And I talked about this a little yesterday, actually. And I appreciate it. You're absolutely right. How about Richie in Clarksville? Hello, Richie. You're on with Brian on the drive. What's up, buddy?
Hey,
Hey, Brian, I'm calling again. First, I want to shout out to Navy Nuclear Power. Somebody out there is my stuff. And,
I'm sorry, so sorry, Richie. We're having a difficult time hearing you because of your phone, your signal. Try calling back if you can get a better call. Todd in Cedar Hill, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Todd?
Hello, hey, Brian. I really enjoy the show, sir. Thanks for taking my call.
Okay.
I went to the primary yesterday to vote, for Tennessee's primary. Anyway, I walked in, and I was very excited seeing a girl with a Republican sign in front. Hey, vote for this gentleman, Trump. And I said, okay, I'll vote for him, sure. I went in there, and how you doing? I filled out my little card. I had a shirt on. Look at this. I wore this shirt to work. I've had it for 3 years. I made it myself. T-shirt. On the back of it, I wrote, the USA was a stronger, safer place with Trump. Fix it. And I had this shirt on. I certainly didn't think anything about it. And I'm filling out my card, getting ready. There's like 7 people.
And they gave you trouble about it, didn't they?
They gave me trouble. And she asked me, sir, I'm so sorry, but can you go? I'm the only person there. Yeah. Okay, there's 7 people working the place. I'm the only one in there to vote.
I know. Could you
go in the bathroom? And I said, ma'am, are you serious? She said, yes. I said, ma'am, I will not go in the bathroom and change my shirt. And I said, are you going to take my vote? You're telling me you're going to make it so I can't vote here. And I said, I'm not changing my shirt. They said, I'm sorry, sir, you can't vote. I'm very upset. Look at this. I was very careful to use my words. I used no expletives, and I said, hey, this is wrong. And right as I walked out the door, I go, hey, this is wrong, and everybody in this room knows that this is wrong. I walked outside. Did you contact the Secretary of State's office? Sir, look at this. I walked outside, and that girl goes, so did you vote? And I go, no, ma'am. And I recognize this girl. She's a member of the Robertson County County Republic.
But so did you ultimately vote?
I did. She got on the phone. There was a representative involved. They called the commissioner of the elections. And I got a phone call. She got a phone call. Sir said, hey, let me talk to the guy. They said, Mr. Bolton, they are very sorry inside, and they are anxiously awaiting your. They checked it, sir. It was what it was. The shirt. If you can't have a shirt or anything, be wearing anything of anybody that's on the ticket.
On the ticket, right? So listen, Todd, I appreciate your story, and it is a note. And if you get challenged, be sure and do something about it. I need to talk to Bobby over in Nashville real quick. Bobby, you're on with Brian. What's up, Bobby?
Well, I just wanted to say that I am understanding what you're saying. It isn't the polls so much, is that the earth shift when this thing changed.
You're right.
And if the Republicans don't recognize that, this isn't the same race that was being run. And number one, you can't run against, even in today's, specially recognized world that we're living in now, you can't run against a woman like you run against a man, number one. And number two, to keep calling names rather than to have a good plan and execute that plan is not going to be helpful in today. I was just reading an article today, and it said that the race has been reset.
Yep.
And that has to be recognized. It has to be dealt with differently than if Biden were the opponent. And that's what I just want people to understand. And I want the people that are running the campaign to understand that. I mean, this is a new world, a new day we're living in.
It absolutely is, Bobby, and I appreciate your support on my point. I think you and I are in sync on this. And of course, people who know who Bobby is, he's been around the block a few campaigns. So, Bobby, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it. We're running late, 52 past the hour. Many of you have lived here for a long time, and you know about Eurofix. They've been in Middle Tennessee, the place to go for European car repair now for some 24 years. And we've all seen them grow over the years. I don't know about you, but I love it when a hometown business takes off. Well, they're now proud to announce a new location. If you haven't heard by now, it's in Mount Juliet, right on Mount Juliet Road, right across from the Dairy Queen. Now, Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and Mount Juliet. It's pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting in a barn in the backyard of a single-wide trailer grow to a successful business, 5 locations, repairing thousands of cars each month. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. So call them, 844-EUROFIX, or go by and see them, or just visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
I do everything from scrubbing cages to asking people for donations to answering the phones and helping facilitate getting animals to the rehab. I'm there on the weekends, up there taking care of animals with the team.
You got a great team there. It's a small team, but a great team that works together. And
well, I started about 20 years ago. My dear friend Carol Burgess founded Harmony in Fairview.
Okay.
And we decided to reopen it in West Nashville. And we are rocking along. Lots of animals. One of the primary calls that we get are, I found a bird, it's on the ground, what do I do? And in most situations, you should let it alone unless there's an imminent danger to that animal, because the parents are helping it and feeding it, and it just needs a couple of scary days on the ground until it gets back up into flight. What about bunnies, Melody? Can we give advice about bunnies?
The bunnies, they're just the sweetest, most innocent creatures, and we just see the worst things happen to them. Cats, dogs, lawnmowers, weed whackers.
In most cases, if the animals aren't injured, if you can put the rabbits back, that's always better to be with the mother rabbit than to come to us.
All the storms that have been coming through and just destroying nests, and a lot of babies will be found on the ground. Re-nesting is possible and preferable.
You play the video calls and you put the baby near where they found it, and the mama will actually come down and pick it up and then bring it back.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that cool?
Nice.
Good afternoon. It's 1 minute past 5 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a bit of sun, 90 degrees. A forecast and a traffic report are coming up. San Francisco's mayor working a deal with the homeless in the city. And now they're implementing what many are saying is a controversial plan. ABC's Alex Stone reports.
As San Francisco tries to reduce its homeless population, its mayor is now ordering that her staff offer the homeless bus tickets out of town to go somewhere else before they're given housing assistance. Studies show a huge number of the city's homeless are from somewhere else. Now the city wants them to go home. Donna Hilliard is executive director of Code Tenderloin.
They need to be able to go back home. I think offering them that chance to reunite with their family, where their support system is everything.
Alex Stone is in California, and he also reports that days after Elon Musk said that he would be moving SpaceX from California to Texas, another big company is going to be joining him out there.
Chevron was born in California 145 years ago, announcing now it will be moving its headquarters to Houston. Chevron has been in a battle with California over climate change rules and had already moved about 7,000 employees to Houston. California sued oil companies, including Chevron, alleging billions of dollars in damage related to global warming. Chevron says the move will better allow it to engage with executives, employees, and business partners.
And now a sentencing date has been set for President Biden's son. ABC's Dave Packer reports that the date has been set, but it will happen after the presidential election.
President Biden's son, Hunter, will be sentenced on November 13th. Hunter Biden was found guilty in June of 3 felony gun charges related to him obtaining a firearm in 2018 when he was addicted to drugs. His sentencing will happen just 1 week after the presidential election. Hunter Biden faces up to 25 years in prison, but as a first-time and nonviolent offender, it would be highly unusual for him to serve time. The president has previously said he would not consider a pardon for his son.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. 6 minutes, almost 7 minutes past the hour, 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air. We'll be here all the way till 7 o'clock. We got a only 89 degree stage. I thought today was pretty nice. I mean, it was still humid, but not quite as hot as yesterday.
A few showers too.
Yeah. We had a little thunder boomer come through here a little while ago. You may have heard it if you were listening. Okay, so where do I want to go first of all? First of all, I want to go to this story about the Secret Service. And it is a continued investigation into the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And, this is the first time that the Secret Service, I don't ever remember the Secret Service holding a press conference. It's just not something that they do. They're the Secret Service. They don't normally come out and say things. That they have a person who answers queries when there are questions about coverage. When things happen, they send out paper statements. They just are. It's an organization that's just not well known for coming out and holding public press conferences. But since then, I think they realized that, you know what? Not many people trust this organization right now. Hold in my hand a story from an AP poll. Listen to this. Most Americans have doubts about the Secret Service's ability to keep presidential candidates safe after last month's attempt on former President Donald Trump's life. A new poll from the Associated Press Newark Center for Public Affairs Research finds only, you ready? 3 in 10 Americans are very confident that the Secret Service can keep the presidential candidates safe from violence before the election. The survey found that about 7 in 10 Americans think the Secret Service bears at least a moderate amount of responsibility for the assassination attempt. 7 in 10. Law enforcement agency tasked with protecting presidents for more than a century is under intense scrutiny. Of course, after a gunman got within 150 yards of Trump and fired several bullets from an AR-style gun, Trump was injured in one ear but was millimeters away from being killed, and that is a pretty accurate assessment of exactly what's going on. This was conducted after Kimberly Cheadle resigned. She did so under intense questioning at a congressional hearing. It was broadcast live last week, in which she gave evasive, I would say, non-answers. She didn't answer at all. So now we got a new guy, Acting Director Ronald Rowe Jr., and he's gone up to Capitol Hill, and he's been more forthcoming. But I don't think that people are completely satisfied with all the answers. And by the way, here's another poll that if you're the Secret Service, this has got to hurt. 6 in 10 Republicans see that the Biden administration's hand in Trump's shooting. This is another poll that's out there, done by Rasmussen Reports. 59% of Republicans told Rasmussen's reports that at least it is somewhat likely that some federal government officials were part of a conspiracy to assassinate Trump. So with 6 in 10 Republicans and 7 in 10 Americans at Hall saying they have some concerns, they decided to hold a press conference. So this all comes against that backdrop. Now, you may have seen in recent days a new video actually taken by one of the people who was injured in the shooting. He was one of the ones who was critically injured, and he's home now and he's recovering, but his video is quite remarkable. He's behind and to the, as you're looking out, you'd be to the left of Trump. And he's looking back toward the direction where the shooter was, and the building, because he's zoomed in on Trump, you see the building, that tan corrugated building in the background, and you could see the head of the shooter. He's sort of bopping along there at the top of the roof line, right? It's very clear. You know, he can see, now they didn't know if he had a gun or not at that point, but he's moving across, and he was visible. Were the snipers aware of it? Because you could definitely see it from this camera vantage point. And Ronald Rowe, the acting director, was asked about that today.
It even just affirms to me that this was a failure. We should have had better protection for the protectee. We should have had better coverage on that roof line. We should have had at least some other set of eyes from the Secret Service point of view covering that. That building was very close to that outer perimeter, and we should have had more of a presence. And so as far as the timeline of him running back and forth, but the bottom line is this was a Secret Service failure. That roof line should have been covered. we should have had better eyes on that.
Yep, they should have. They should have. And then the other problem that's running up, they didn't cover the roof line. He says, look, we should have had it. It should have been ours. We shouldn't have counted on anybody else to cover that. It's a huge shortfall. How did that happen? Who's responsible? He doesn't say who's responsible. But they're doing a process right now where he says that eventually, if we find that people didn't follow our policies, we're gonna take corrective action against them, disciplinary action. Will we hear about it? You'll only hear that action was taken. You won't hear exactly what action was taken, and you probably won't hear who it was against. But they will admit that when somebody is disciplined, they'll let us know, they say. All right, the other shortcoming seems to be in the ability of the Secret Service to hear the radio communications of their partners. Now, at this particular scene, you had a bunch of different police organizations, sheriff deputies from different counties nearby. You had the State Patrol, and you had the Butler Township Police, who really, remarkably, may have saved Donald Trump's life, honestly, if you really want to know the truth of it. But the Secret Service, for some inexplicable reason, could not hear the radio communications of the local police officers who were saying there's a man with a gun. The moment the word gun was said by the local police, you would think the Secret Service would take action and get him off the stage. They would have had about 30 seconds to do that. And we know that when the shots rang out, the Secret Service responded within 3 seconds. 3 seconds. They were on him. They were protecting him, right? If they had been able to get the word that somebody saw a gun on that roof, along with the shooter, then it could have been a different outcome. And apparently that radio information never reached the Secret Service.
With respect to the radio transmissions, based on what the FBI, my colleague from the FBI testified the other day, and they are working on isolating some of those radio frequencies from the state and locals, that there was somebody who did in fact radio out that they had seen the individual with a weapon. What I can tell you is that piece of information, that vital piece of information, and by no fault of anyone, it was a very stressful situation. It did not make it over. Our detail, our counter snipers, everyone that was there that day, were operating under the assumption and under the last bit of information they had received that there was an issue that the locals were working at the 3 o'clock. That's the bit of information that we had, not anything about a weapon.
Yeah. He said not anybody's fault, but it was the fault of the Secret Service that they didn't have the ability to hear those communications. Don't you think? I think so. He said that, clearly this whole thing about getting the communications of other law enforcement organizations that are assisting, it's a complex issue, not easily solved.
The interoperability challenge, it's not an easy fix. It's not as simple as just trying to figure out the local frequency of the agency you're working with and then piping that into your radio network. It requires a substantial technical fix. In the meantime, before we can get to that, what I need to have is I need to make sure that our folks, when they're out there, we use a counterpart system. On the day in Butler, we had a Pennsylvania State Trooper in our security room. They also had a unified command post that had some of the other agencies that were on site that day.
That's sort of interesting. Now, let me just stop here for a moment. So they had a PA representative in the Secret Service Command Center, but the Pennsylvania State Police had a separate place. I'm imagining it's a tent or another location where they had their command center, and they were bringing in all the conversations from the local police and the sheriff deputies and all the people who were there. But when push came to shove, the information that was in the local communications tent never made it over to the Secret Service Command Center.
It is plainly obvious to me that we didn't have access to certain information, not by anybody's fault.
Well, it is somebody's fault. I mean, I just have to stop you there. It is somebody should have made that possible. I mean, there are ways to solve that problem. I can think of 4. But he says it's more complex than that. Maybe, I don't know, but I can think of ways you solve that problem pretty quickly. You put a radio in the Secret Service Command Center. I suspect Well, I'll let him say his piece, then I'll tell you what I suspect.
Just so happened that there was a sense of urgency, that there might have been radio traffic that we missed. We have to do a better job of that. So moving forward, in addition to this task force that we'll provide more information on next week as we begin to stand that up, if a state or local sets up a unified command post, maybe we need to be in that room as well.
Maybe?
As opposed to just being in another room and relying on that counterpart system. It was so apparent to me that in this incident, in the final 30 seconds, which has been the focus of what happened before the assailant opened fire, there was clearly radio transmissions that may have happened on that local radio net that we did not have. And so we have to do a better job of co-locating, leveraging that counterpart system, and this is going to drive our operations going forward.
Remarkably, one of the other things that came out in the hearing was that this was the first Trump rally where they had employed Secret Service countersnipers. It is the very first one. Now, that's pretty shocking. Why would you not have had them? I mean, thank God they were there, because it was a Secret Service countersniper that took out the assailant in one shot, 15.5 seconds after the first shots were fired. Remember, countersniper on the roof, Secret Service countersniper, didn't know that that person had a gun. They knew there was something going on at the 3 o'clock and the 3 o'clock position, and but they didn't know what it was. So that countersniper couldn't take action until he knew that there was a threat, and the threat was when the shots began to fire. He acquired that target and neutralized that target in 15.5 seconds. Imagine if the shooter had been able to, continue firing and firing and firing and firing. It would have been a disaster. So I'm shocked that countersnipers, this is the first time that they've been utilized. Thank goodness they were there. That is a bit of good news. Now, he also talked about how the agents that operate out of the Pittsburgh field office, which was the office that was responsible for doing the advanced survey and the site work, how they were taking all of this.
In the Secret Service, who is feeling this more than the men and women of our Pittsburgh field office. And I've met with them, and they are down right now. And so when I've met with them the other day, it was very difficult. It's difficult for them. They feel like they let their colleagues down. They feel like they let the country down. And they are wearing this, and it's open. You can see it. It's an open wound that they are carrying. They are a very experienced office. And what I will say is they are cooperating with the mission assurance. They understand the gravity of this situation. And they are definitely down right now.
All right. It is now 20 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. A question from the good folks at Beacon Capital Management. Are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? Might be hard to believe, but many hardworking Americans just like you could be overpaying on taxes in retirement. You could be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, and any other tax-deferred retirement accounts. Beacon Capital Management is here to give you peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies and take advantage of them now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. There is no cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait a moment longer. Schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Call this number, 615-488-9303, or visit askbeaconnow.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
A sentencing date now set for President Biden's son, and Florida, they're bracing for tropical weather that could intensify into a named storm. We'll have those stories for you at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And right after we do the news with Jay Harper, I'll be doing my second round of Phone Your Farb Friday. And if you want to, think about what you want to say, we'll be doing that at 5:35. We love our conversations. Let's get down to it. Tell me what's on your mind, and don't piddle around. Just get to it. Say what's on your mind, and move on. Long stories, we don't have time for long stories. We want to get everybody in. Okay. All right, let's say that. We have to talk a little bit about what's going on in the Mideast right now, because there was a Hamas leader who was assassinated inside Iran. Now, he's a Hamas leader. His name is Ismail Haniyeh, I believe is the way you say it. And he was inside Iran, and he was killed. Now, initially, the Iranians said it was a airborne projectile that killed him, but now apparently that's not right. Word has come out yesterday. We told you about this, that he was killed by a bomb that had been planted inside his apartment 2 months before he got there. How that happened, I don't know, but that was the story that was circulating yesterday. Nobody put their name to that report, but it was said to come from people who were in a position to know that there was a bomb planted in his apartment in Iran 2 months before before this thing happened on, I guess it was Monday. Well, the Iranians don't like the fact that an assassination was carried out within their own countries, within the boundaries of their own country. well, I'm sorry about that, but, there's a war going on between Israel and Hamas, and this is a Hamas leader, and he's in your country. Oh, well, that's the way it goes. However, because it happened inside the country and because it was such a provocative act to actually, carry out an assassination attempt, assuming it was the Israelis, they have a claimed responsibility, but, come on. So assuming that it was there, the Iranians believe it was them. And now the question is, will the Iranians let this pass, or will they have to retaliate? And if they retaliate, does this then make it a wider war? If the Iranians retaliate directly, or do they send their proxies, the Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthi rebels, all those folks? Do they get them to do their dirty work? It'll be hard to see what's going on. But I mean, things are on a tenterhook in the Mideast right now. We have upped our military presence in the region, and we are standing by. Now, if there's a direct attack from Iran against Israel, boy, it gets serious in a hurry. It gets real serious in a hurry. We of course, have a sworn responsibility to protect Israel, and we would. That's why I think our military presence has been upped in the recent days. And we want to also send that message to the Iranians. Okay, if you tangle with Israel, you're also tangling with us. Do you want that? I don't think that Iran truly wants a wider war. They like paying, their henchmen in Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthi rebels and the other forces that they support to do their dirty work for them against Israel. But I got to tell you, we should be paying attention to the Middle East right now, because it has the potential. I don't know that it will happen, but it has the potential to explode in a much bigger way and become a much wider war. We're focused on other things, it seems, right now as a nation, but we should not take our eyes off the Middle East. It could get ugly. Says right here, the world is on tenterhooks after Hamas's top political boss is assassinated on Wednesday while he was in Tehran for the swearing-in ceremony of the new president of Iran. Hamas and Iran have both blamed Israel shortly after the news broke that he was killed by an airborne projectile. I think that there is other stuff that we've decided happened then. Hamas's armed wing threatened enormous consequences for the whole region. The group said in a statement that Israel miscalculated by killing resistance leaders and violating the sovereignty of Iran and against Lebanon, where there was also an attack. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, said Israel has provided the grounds for the harsh punishment for itself, and it was Tehran's duty to avenge Haniyeh's death. So keep an eye on the Mideast. Things have heated up in recent days. Time for the news now at 5:30.
Good afternoon. Yes, it is 5:30 on the button, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Partly sunny. We're down, quote unquote, to 86 degrees now. A forecast and a traffic report are coming up. Well, a sentencing date has now been set for President Biden's son. ABC's Dave Packer has that.
President Biden's son, Hunter, will be sentenced on November 13th. Hunter Biden was found guilty in June of 3 felony gun charges related to him obtaining a firearm in 2018 when he was addicted to drugs. His sentencing will happen just 1 week after the presidential election. Hunter Biden faces up to 25 years in prison, but as a first-time and nonviolent offender, it would be highly unusual for him to serve time. The president has previously said he would not consider a pardon for his son.
Hunter Biden also faces a separate criminal trial in September on federal tax charges. He's pleaded not guilty to that charge. Well, here comes the rain again. Flood preps are underway from the Florida Panhandle to the Florida Keys as another wet weekend is in store there. This time, it's because a storm system brewing over Cuba. If it strengthens, it will become Tropical Storm Debbie. Sandbags have been made available ahead of a soggy Saturday and Sunday. And for Edgewood resident George Patino, he's not waiting for Debbie to be a downer and downgrade. He's prepared. only because he's been through this too many times. In June, his car was damaged by rushing floodwaters.
And I loaded up some bags, and I'm getting ready because I think we're going to get a lot of rain. So I want to be prepared.
The Hurricane Center considers this storm to have cyclone potential. Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis, he's already declared a state of emergency for most Florida counties. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Phone Your Farb Friday, round 2 in just a few moments. Phone lines are open at 615-737-9986. In the meantime, let me tell you about Genesis Diamonds opening up the vault with their largest GIA diamond event ever. Starting Saturday for a limited time, all Genesis GIA diamond engagement rings will be marked down 20%. That's 20% below Genesis' already unbeatable prices. This means you can buy like a dealer buys, with deep discounts on over $10 million in stunning diamond rings. These remarkable savings are on every GIA diamond engagement ring, from the half carat to 20 carats, all shapes, rounds, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts, ovals, pear shapes, whatever they got. Remember, all Genesis diamonds are handpicked. They come straight from the diamond cutters and are graded by the GIA, the most prestigious gem lab in the world. At Genesis, you know their everyday prices are unbeatable, but for this event, they are taking value to a whole new level with an additional 20% off. You've got to get by. Don't miss this chance to save like never before on that exquisite diamond ring. Buy like a dealer buys, starting Saturday for a limited time, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Limit 1 per customer, please. 2 locations, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
37 past the hour. You know what time it is? It's time for it's my favorite part of the week. Time for a little thing we like to call Phone Your Farb Friday. That's right, 615-737-9986. Phone lines are now open. You got a bee in your bonnet. You got a burr in your saddle. You have a bug in a place where I hope you never, ever really have a bug. Hey. Just get on the 100,000-watt soapbox and express yourself. Get it off your chest. Tell me what you really think. Within reason, because this is a family show. We don't want to have to use a little red button on you. All right. A lot of people already stacked up, ready to go. Let's get after it, shall we? Mr. Bill from Hendersonville. You're on with Brian on the drive. Hello, Mr. Bill.
Hey, Brian. I have 4 quick bullet points about the Trump assassination attempt, which I'd like to shoot past you to get your opinion.
Don't shoot past me. Just give them to me.
Okay. Right. How could the assailant have been able to get such a large weapon onto the premises without being detected? Number 2, is there any speculation that he could have had it planted somewhere around or near the building that he climbed onto days or weeks before the event? Number 3, of the 8 shots which came from his weapon, we know that 1 hit Trump's ear, 1 resulted in a tragic fatality, and then 2 others caused near fatal injuries.
Right.
So what happened to the other 4? Number 3, has there been any info called in by anyone about the Old Testament book of Leviticus, which says that anyone consecrated to the Lord's work has got to have blood placed on the tip of their right ear? And finally, has anyone discussed about the late Kim Clement being the one who had prophesied that Trump would be elected and then be reelected? And I'll hang up and listen to your opinion.
Well, I don't think I can help you with the biblical concerns or the prophecies, but I can answer some of the other questions. They said today that they still have not figured out how the weapon got on the roof. It was a collapsible stock on the weapon. We know that to be true, but even then it wouldn't fit in the backpack. And so there's some question about, well, did he take it apart? And clearly the Secret Service director said today, we just don't know quite yet. Could it have been pre-stashed? Yes, that's possible, quite frankly. And if that's the case, that's a tremendous oversight. They should have found it. The bullets, yes, you were correct in saying 1 nicked Trump. 1 killed somebody, and then there were 2 other bullets that injured people critically. What about the other bullets? Because there were 8 shots. I can tell you that the FBI says that their people have been out there and they have all the bullets accounted for. So I guess they didn't hit people. They hit the stands, but they say all 8 bullets fired by the assailant have been accounted for, and they believe the assailant shot all 8 bullets. Came from the same gun. So that's what I can tell you. The other stuff, I'll have to say, we'll leave that to somebody who has higher power than me. I don't know. Let's go to Rishi in Murfreesboro. Hello, Rishi. You're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say?
Hey, Brian, enjoy your show. First,
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to be honest. Do not worry about pleasing this person or that person in life, because God would not forsake you. You know, you go ahead, say what is right you feel with the best of your ability. So
well,
that's
thank
the
you.
Second point.
Okay, go ahead.
The third thing I wanted to say is, there are 40% who are strongly Donald Trump supporter, 40% are strong Democrat. It's the middle 20%. And I think what Donald Trump needs to do is, rather than name-calling black versus Indian or something like that, need to be more inclusive. Policy, border policy, economy, and a strong defense. You've got 2-3 strong points. I'm not sure why he takes personally and then they start attacking him. Because
I agree with you. We got the right policies, Rishi. We absolutely do. Our policies are good, solid policies, and he needs to remind people of how good the economy was when he was president. He should never open his mouth without talking about how the economy was so much stronger before Biden got into office. That is something that resonates with a lot of people. And not only that, there's all kinds of stuff to talk about that's legitimate about her record and the things that she has said, the incredibly dumb things that she has said, and the positions that she has held, which are way outside mainstream political thought. I hope that the campaign gets back on the right track pretty soon. I really do. Kathy in Hendersonville, you're up next on The Drive. Hello, Kathy.
Hello, Brian. How are you today?
I am well today. How are you?
Good. I'm good. Okay, I just have one comment to make. Well, maybe one. Okay, when you talk about the polls, one of the reasons that I listen to your show is I like to know what the polls are. And I will tell you, I'm frustrated as a Republican conservative woman that the Republican Party, Trump, have not spent the amount of time they should. The only thing they have to do is put your policy out there, contrast it to Kamala Harris, and let the votes come in. And the poll that I watch, family, friends, relatives, and neighbors. And I can tell you they're largely independents, libertarians, and conservatives. They're feeling Kamala Harris. They are almost chuckling that Trump has somebody he has to fight now, and they're disgusted when he gets pulled into these same stupid arguments about race, who you're a descendant of. Just go out there and prove to the people that you can turn this country around. That's his main job right now.
Yep,
and
I think
feel like
you're right.
There's a whole lot of Republicans who are they're giddy happy because who would vote for Kamala Harris when you have Trump? A lot of people. Or they'll be like my little poll in my little world. They'll vote down ballot. They'll leave a blank. They've done it before.
All right. I appreciate your thoughts. I agree with about everything you said there, Kathy. I really do. How about Jamie in Cookeville? Jamie, you're on with Brian on The Drive.
Hi, Brian. Yes, please keep telling us the truth. And I would like to encourage everyone listening to please open a Truth Social account and post things like what Kathy just said. Post things that you said earlier, to just put the policy out there, and then they can follow it up with that crazy laugh of hers. If they hear that enough, that'll turn them off of her. But they do pay attention to what we post. I know this because I have an account there, and they have responded to me. So please, everyone do that.
Yeah, he does pay attention to Truth Social. You're absolutely right about that, and his campaign does as well. Thank you for that. I appreciate it very much. Let's see. How about let's go to Larry in Clarksville. Hello, Larry. You're on with Brian on The Drive. What do you say, Larry?
Good evening, Brian. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
I've listened since the first day you started at WTN.
Well, thank you.
I love the show. I want you to keep speaking the truth. You have more knowledge, inside knowledge on most of the stuff, not reflecting on your age because I'm right there with you. But you have more insight, on this stuff than anybody I know of. So I want to hear your thoughts. And on the Secret Service stuff that went on, right? It's just hard, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's hard for me to believe that there were this many epic failures.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, we need to start over with the Secret Service.
Well, I'm with you on that. It seems to me that there were 1, 2, 3, 4 things that I can think of right off the bat that are just wrong about this. Why didn't they interdict the person once they first mentioned him? Why wasn't somebody out there to to have a conversation with that individual when he was walking around, skulking around. When they saw him with the rangefinder, they were, why didn't somebody go over and say, "Excuse me, pal, what are you up to? Who are you, and what do you? Why do you have that rangefinder with you?" I mean, I want to know that. I want to know exactly why the communications were not good between the locals and the Secret Service, and how it was that critical information did not reach the Secret Service. I want to know that for sure. I want to know why that roof was not within the perimeter. I mean, there are really legitimate questions, and if all of these things come together and you have to say, man, this was just like mistake after mistake after mistake, I think you're right. I think we got to start over with the Secret Service. I think we do. I think the personal protection people, I hear through the grapevine, they're hacked. The people who are right there with Trump on a day-to-day basis, who this close team that he travels with, he's got a full shift of people, 3 shifts a day, that are on his team, and they're not happy about what happened in Butler. They think that the Butler thing was not properly done, and I think they're right. Thank you for that. How about Adam out at B&A? You're out at what? You're out at B&A? You're at the airport?
I'm at the airport, Brian.
Okay, what's on your mind?
Okay, so I got a couple of things. First, to your audience and to you, if you recall the debate between Trump and Biden, which I'm sure everybody does,
right?
It was over after that.
Yep.
One day, one debate, and it was over. Second of all, I get hacked off when I watch the Olympics. I see these Kamala ads, and it sounds like she's saying Trump talking points about herself. But if I'm Trump and I know how dirty the Democrat leadership is, I wait until they install her before I take her down at the knees, because she's so easily taken down, especially in a debate. It's so long as he stays on point.
Well, I mean, the word is, Adam, that he may not do a debate now.
Well, even so, she's still he hasn't really put up any advertisement. Maybe he has in the swing state. I don't know. But my point is that she's easily taken down, in my opinion. And so, I mean, I'm not happy either about the fact that she's rising in the polls. But if I'm Trump, why throw good money after bad? Why not just hit her full barrels after she's the nominee and they cannot switch?
Well, she became the nominee today. Today, she officially became the nominee. They did a virtual roll call. She got the votes, and she's it. They're not going to switch. She's going to be the presidential candidate. And the rumor buzzes floating around, it may be Shapiro out of Pennsylvania as her running mate, although she hasn't made that announcement official yet. But there's been some buzz about that happening, and maybe we'll hear that announcement before the day is out. All right. Listen, great conversation. I see that I didn't get even close to getting everybody in, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to be opening up the phones a lot more in the days ahead so we can have these conversations. So just keep listening. And if you didn't get in today, I promise you when we get back on Monday, I'm going to give us every single day an opportunity to have a conversation, because I need to know where you are. I need to know what's on your mind. And I really appreciate the feedback. 50 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock. All right, D.T. McCall's been around for more than a century in Middle Tennessee. And you know what? You don't last that long without having a great reputation for treating people right and treating people with respect. And one of the ways they respect you is you come in and you look around and you say, man, we went over there. I love this sofa. I love this sofa for my living room. How much is it? And they're going to give you a good price. You look at it and you say, that's a decent price. And then you know what else they're not going to do? They're not going to jack you up like the big box stores do. Well, they may lowball you on the price, but then they say, well, we need to charge you for delivery. We need to charge you for setup. We need to charge you for the haul away. They don't play that game at D.T. McCall's. The price they give you is a good price. They don't charge extra for delivery, setup, or haul away. And that's honesty, and that's what you want, right? They sell furniture. They sell appliances. If you need power tools for your yard, I got my Cub Cadet mower there, and I just adore the thing. And whenever possible, they do business with other businesses in Middle Tennessee. Don't you want to do business with a company that is right here in Middle Tennessee, that does business with other companies right here in Middle Tennessee? Well, of course you do. Find out about their convenient locations by going to the website, ttmccalls.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
I do everything from scrubbing cages to asking people for donations to answering the phones and helping facilitate getting animals to the rehab. I'm there on the weekends, up there taking care of animals with the team.
You got a great team there. It's a small team, but a great team that works together. And
Well, I started about 20 years ago. My dear friend Carol Burgess founded Harmony in Fairview.
Okay.
And we decided to reopen it in West Nashville. And we are rocking along. Lots of animals. One of the primary calls that we get are, I found a bird, it's on the ground, what do I do? And in most situations, you should let it alone unless there's an imminent danger to that animal, because the parents are helping it and feeding it, and it just needs a couple of scary days on the ground until it gets back up into flight. What about bunnies, Melody? Can we give advice about bunnies?
The bunnies, they're just the sweetest, most innocent creatures, and we just see the worst things happen to them. Cats, dogs, lawnmowers, weed whackers.
In most cases, if the animals aren't injured, if you can put the rabbits back, that's always better to be with the mother rabbit than to come to us.
All the storms that have been coming through and just destroying nests, and a lot of babies will be found on the ground. Re-nesting is possible and preferable.
You play the video calls and you put the baby near where they found it, and the mama will actually come down and pick it up and then bring it back.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that cool?
Nice.
You know, the folks at Busy Bee have got some back-to-school specials for your home. The first one thing they want to let you know is if you purchase a new high-efficiency unit, you can register to win a Healthy Hive giveaway, which is a $2,000 sponsorship to a local school of your choice, if you're the winner. Schools must be within the service area, not out of region or state school. So there's that. And by the way, they got to buy one, get one for local teachers, faculty, and staff. Here's the way that works. If you buy a Beehive membership, you get to give a free membership to a teacher, a faculty, or a staff member of any local school or higher education institution within our service area. School must be within our service area, not out of region or out of state school. So there's an opportunity to do something nice for a teacher or a member of the faculty or staff of your school where your kid goes. Some specials in the month of August: $300 off a tankless water heater conversion, $500 off a main drain and main water line replacement, $500 off a home drain repipe, $700 off a home water line repipe. And again, there's a good deal there. $100 off a home indoor air quality projects. If you need something to sort of clean up the air in your house, they got it, and you get a discount. Plumbing service, $250 off water filtration products. I can't speak highly enough of some of the products they have in that regard. It really has made the water in my home taste wonderful. I love it. 615-775-7833. Learn more at busybee.hvac.com.
Good evening. It is 6:01 p.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We are looking at a partly sunny sky and 84 degrees on Music Row. The weekend forecast and a traffic report are on the way. Some breaking news, as there are media reports that Sumner County Sheriff Sonny Weatherford has died. That coming from the mayor's office there in Sumner County. So again, this is a breaking story. We will have more details as they become available. Now, on the national front, the acting director of the U.S. Secret Service says his agency takes full responsibility for their failure to prevent the attempted assassination of President Trump and the death of a spectator at Mr. Trump's July 13th rally in Butler, PA. Here's ABC's Dave Packer.
Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe characterizing his agency's performance at the Pennsylvania Trump rally a mission failure.
The Secret Service takes full responsibility for the tragic events of July 13th.
Explaining,
the sole responsibility of our agency is to make sure our protectees are never put in danger. We fell short of that in Butler.
And if policy violations during the event are identified,
those individuals will be held accountable.
Rowe says agents who were there are wearing this failure as an open wound.
Now we head out west, where Chevron has announced it's packing up from California and headed to Texas. They have left or will be leaving their San Ramon, California headquarters to relocate to Houston. Around 2,000 employees work at the current office. The company, though, saying those that are now in California should see minimal impacts. Jim Wunderman is CEO of the Bay Area Council.
State leadership needs to take notice of this and acknowledge it and ask the hard question is, why do companies feel they're better off in Texas or some other state and not in California, which is, if we're such a powerful economy, why don't companies want to be here?
Now we turn to some entertainment news. It's the end of the road for Aerosmith as the band is officially cutting short its final tour because of frontman Steven Tyler's vocal problems. We hear now from ABC's Jason Nathanson.
No more singing at concerts with Steven Tyler. Aerosmith announcing on social media that its touring days are over, saying the 76-year-old Tyler has been struggling for months to get his voice in shape following a vocal injury which had paused their Peace Out Farewell tour. But despite having the best medical team, a full recovery is impossible, and they made what they call a heartbreaking but necessary decision to retire from the road. The post closes with a final thank you to fans, saying, quote, "Play our music loud, now and always. Dream on. You've made our dreams come true."
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's about 8 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock now on Super Talk 99.7. This is the fourth and final hour on this Friday. It's Friday. I haven't even looked at the forecast. I don't even know what kind of weather we're going to have this weekend.
Yeah, don't look.
Don't look. Don't look, Ethel. Let's see. No, I got good news here.
Well, I mean, relatively, I guess.
Sunshine in 86. Sunshine in 89. That's not bad.
It's okay.
I mean, I want to get some stuff done. I don't want it to rain this weekend. That's what I don't want. Good thing, I got a lot of my yard work done this week because I'm gonna be able to get some other things done this weekend. I hope you come home on a Friday night and you think, the weekend. Then you have that conversation with the missus, and you get the list of honeydews.
Just rather go back to work.
Nah. We're all in it together, right? Okay, I want to do some election coverage and start talking about where we are in the 2024 election campaign. The news this afternoon, so that there's been a virtual roll call vote by the Democrats, and Vice President Harris has passed the threshold needed to become the Democrat presidential nominee. She is now, I guess you would say, officially the nominee. Now, they haven't held their convention yet. They're doing this on the phone because they don't want to go into the convention, divided. They don't want to go into the convention and have somebody, try to say, well, let's take a vote and let's try to bring somebody up. They don't want that. She's not faced the voters at all in this process. Normally when you run for president, you have to go through the primary process and you have to go through states. You start with Iowa, you go to New Hampshire, you go to South Carolina, you do the whole 9 yards, and then you gain enough votes to become the nominee. Right? You get enough of the delegate votes to become the nominee. Well, Biden did that, and I guess maybe by extension you could argue that Harris was the running mate, so she got the votes as well. I don't know, but it seems like to me she's being just coronated here, coronated by the Democrats without any kind of real, and isn't it ironic, democratic process. I'm honored to be the presumptive Democrat nominee for the President of the United States, and I will tell you the tireless work of our delegates, our state leaders, and our staff has been pivotal to make this moment possible. Oh, yeah, right. It's a people-powered campaign.
Listen, I think we all approach our campaign with the same spirit, including that this is truly a people-powered campaign.
As long as the people are Biden delegates and other Democrats don't have any say, she didn't have to. She couldn't have made it through the process if she were the nominee. If they had started her in Iowa, I guarantee you she wouldn't be the nominee today. So this is probably the most undemocratic process that I've ever seen. But she's it. Nobody's going to be able to. That's the way they operate, with a heavy hand in the Democrat Party. You will pick who we say you want. You will take it and you will like it. So there. Kamala Harris has raised $310 million in July, dwarfing the Trump haul for the month. Presidential campaign of Vice President Kamala Harris said Friday they had raised $320 million in July, dwarfing the tally raised by the Republican nominee Donald Trump in the same month. The team raised the eye-popping sum between the campaign, the Democrat National Committee, and the joint fundraising committees. The vast majority came in the first week of her candidacy after Joe Biden dropped out. During the same time, Trump raised $138.7 million. The Trump team enters the month of August with $327 million in the bank. It's not without money, but I mean, the de facto Democrat nominee entered August with $377, so they got about $50 million more on hand. And I think that they'll have no problem raising more money if they want. So there you have that. What else we want to talk about with regard to this thing? Yeah, here's one. Unburdened. This is a great headline. Unburdened by what has been, Harris hasn't renounced a single radical position. In the past 2 weeks since becoming the presumptive Democrat nominee with absolutely zero popular votes, she has not dressed a single one of those positions that she held before that are so radically out of line with mainstream political thought. Her spokespeople have insisted that she doesn't hold those extreme positions. Oh, she doesn't believe that. Well, yeah, she did. She was never the border czar. Yeah, she was. Harris owes it to the country to confirm out loud in person and on the record that she has, in fact, abandoned positions she held when running for Senate or running in a Democrat presidential primary. She also needs to explain why she flip-flopped. But that, of course, would require for her to sit in a place where she could be asked questions, and she doesn't do that. She doesn't do that at all. But let's go through. I'll come on that in a moment. In 2019, Harris proposed socializing America's healthcare industry, calling it Medicare for all. She has flip-flopped on whether she would outlaw private insurance. She should explain whether she believes in socialist health care or whether she would tolerate private insurance or ban it altogether. Another socialist program Harris liked was a federal jobs guarantee. As senator, she co-sponsored a bill to test run a plan, but this week, her spokesperson told the Washington Examiner that she no longer liked the idea. Spokesperson gave no explanation, and she personally hasn't addressed it. Why the flip-flop, Kamala? On immigration, Harris introduced a bill to largely defund immigration and customs enforcement, which she compared at one point to the Ku Klux Klan. She raised her hand when asked if she would decriminalize illegal entry and also affirmed she would provide taxpayer-funded health care to illegal immigrants. Harris should explain if she still supports defunding ICE. If she thinks that ICE is like the KKK, is that fair? She should probably apologize to the agency's workers and not through a spokesperson. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking, she said on live television in 2019. She has never renounced that position. Her spokespeople say she no longer believes that. Well, I need to hear her say that. That statement has never come from her mouth, and nobody has ever explained what occurred to change her mind or where her reasoning was faulty in 2019. On immigration, fracking, socialized medicine, other things, we have no idea what Harris truly believes. She believed it, and now she doesn't. Well, why? Again, it would be great if she would put herself in a position where inquisitive reporters, if they could be brought to do so, would ask such a question. But she doesn't put herself in a position where reporters can ask questions. She doesn't do interviews, not since she became the nominee. Vice President Kamala Harris, according to Newsmax, has not done a sit-down interview or held a press conference in becoming the presumptive Democrat nominee for president. Democrats told The Hill they are worried she will fall in the same trap as Biden, who was shielded from the press amidst concerns about his cognitive decline. They've got to get her out there soon because she can't let this be part of the narrative, one Democrat strategist told The Hill. I know we're riding high at the moment, but that's going to end soon, and then what? Other Democrats told The Hill Harris is showing you don't have to do media interviews to get media attention. I'd say she has a robust communication strategy, large, energetic rallies, barnstorming the swing states, and a wildly different tone in ads and press statements designed to generate media. Plus, there's joy among Democrats, says Democrat strategist Christy Setzer. Now, I don't argue with that. I mean, I think that from their perspective, it's going pretty well right now. And then conversely, former President Donald Trump earned sharp criticism for his appearance at the National Association of Black Journalists conference early this week when he faced tough questions and said Harris happened to turn black. Republicans defended him for being willing to do interviews and face hostile audiences, and that is true, especially when the opponent will not. It's refreshing to see a president candidate who's willing to go in front of the media, something Donald Trump knew would be a tough interview. It turned out to be a hostile adversarial interview, and that's true. But he's been doing that for 9 years. Kamala Harris, meanwhile, has been hiding out for the 10 days that she's been the nominee. She's had 14 events since entering the race, done 80 interviews this year, Seth Schuster, communications director for Harris' campaign, told her, but none of those interviews have taken place since she became the nominee. J.D. Vance has a sharp word or two about her and that whole thing with regard to Donald Trump at the NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists. I think J.D. Vance has the right position on all this.
All he said is that Kamala Harris is a chameleon.
She's a chameleon. Can we have the music there, Chris? I mean,
did you say she's a Kamala chameleon?
Yep.
She goes to Georgia 2 days ago. She was raised in Canada. She puts on a fake Southern accent. She is everything to everybody, and she pretends to be somebody different depending on which audience she's in front of. I think it's totally reasonable for the president to call that out, and that's all he did. I mean, look, she's running as a tough-on-crime prosecutor, even though she implemented open border policies. She's saying that she wants to support the police, yet she wanted to defund the police just 3 years ago. It's totally reasonable to call out the fact that she pretends to be somebody different depending on the audience she's talking to.
There you go. Red, gold, and green. I don't know. Somebody's got to do a version of this. Kamala chameleon. And if you don't make me do it because you won't like it.
I would have to imagine somebody's done it already.
I don't know.
have to look, I guess.
Why don't you look and see if you can find it? That would be great. I mean, surely she is really a chameleon. She's like, Joe Biden has always been that guy that sort of wets his finger and puts it in the air to see which way the political winds are blowing. And she's like that, too. I mean, really, honestly, where is your where is the press corps pounding the table like they did over Biden? When are we going to have a chance to talk to him? When is he going to answer questions? When is he going to hold a press conference? I don't hear any of that. No, they're deifying her. They're building her up. They're burnishing her reputation. I got to tell you. And all she does is she goes out there and does a bunch of word salad. I mean, you can't make sense of what she's saying. And to that end, I'll end this segment with this wonderful clip of a comedian by the name of Elsa Kurt. I found her on the internet. I'm going to try to get her on the show. I think she's fantastic. She does a dead-on impersonation of Kamala Harris. You ready? This is good stuff. Here we go.
Today is a day in which we all collectively look around and agree that today is the day to make the day what it is, right? But listen, full stop. Today is the day to continue to do the things that we have done and to do the things that we will do tomorrow, because yesterday was once today. And so remember, today's yesterday is tomorrow's yesterday today, right? Yes. You know what I'm saying, right?
That is so good. That is so dead on. 21 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. Grace Point Healthcare. Here's what we need you to know. It's affordable, it's comprehensive, and it is convenient. That's right, and that's what you want. Man, let's think about it. Your kids going back to school, maybe they need a sports physical. Grace Point provides complete physicals for kids of all ages. Scheduling an international vacation or mission trip, Grace Point offers complete travel immunizations and is CDC certified for yellow fever and all international immunization protocols. And here's the most important part, because they will see you the same day or the next day. You don't have to wait days or weeks to see a doctor. I mean, what good is having a doctor? Have you ever called and said, I need to see the doctor? Said, well, we can get you in a month. That's no good. What good is a doctor if you can't see the doctor when you need a doctor? Again, convenient. Medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. Main Street in Franklin, 615-599-6868 for an appointment.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
The Sumner County Sheriff has passed away. And we'll also have today's closing money news. Both of those stories coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. A bit more stuff that has to do with the election. The Nate Silver over at 538.com has said that he was saying before that, look, there was like a 66% chance that Trump was going to win. He says it's getting very close to 50-50. Not exactly 50-50, but close. It really, I mean, these numbers, I won't bore you with a bunch of numbers, and there really weren't any new numbers that came out today of any consequence, but there are some polls out there that say that it is really tightened. It has really, really tightened. And I've been, I'm sort of on record, that I've said this. I think that Trump needs to refocus and go after her record, and to go after what you're going to do for America, and sort of, get back on track. The slash and burn and the stuff about, whether she's Indian or black, nobody cares. I mean, you may like it. You may think that he was treated rudely, and you know what? He was treated rudely at that National Association of Black Journalists conference. But there was a way to handle it, and there was a way then to go ahead and move on. And it just did not sit well with a lot of people. You know who else agrees with me on that? Vivek Ramaswamy. Take a listen.
I do believe that we need a bit of a reset in this campaign. If we're being honest and being clear-eyed, I think
that's right. Honest and clear-eyed. Sometimes we need to do that. Need to step back and take a deep breath and look at things afresh.
The reality is Kamala's new de facto nomination, coronation, whatever you want to call it, after the Republican convention was a bit of a shock that caught a lot of Republicans by blindside. And the reality is we now have to take a big step back and say, we're going to offer our own vision of what we stand for. I think the attacks on Kamala alone are not going to be enough. We're already seeing that over the last week. I think we have to stand for our own alternative vision that we believe in merit. The reason that we're critical of identity politics isn't because we're against the Democrats. It's because we stand for meritocracy, and that's part of who we are as Americans. And so as much as I'm critical of the Democrats, I also think now is a moment for a wake-up call on our own side. We need to use this as a chance to reset and level set and focus on our own vision for the future of this country. And the more we do that, the more successful we're going to be. Frankly, the less we do it, the more risk I do see heading into November.
I think he's right. Pay attention. The man's speaking truth to you. Trump is now saying, I don't know if I'm going to debate Harris. Right now, I say, why should I do a debate? I would only say this. I mean, it's his call, clearly. But I would say this. She's not good in an unscripted format. She's really not good. She's nothing if she's not reading the teleprompter. And you can't read a teleprompter in a debate. So I think maybe it's worth the risk to go after it. I don't know what his concern is. A lot of negotiations are going on right now. This could be just his negotiating ploy. But I would do it, and I would do it quicker rather than later. I would get it on. I would get that debate going as soon as I possibly could. There's no way you're probably going to get it between now and when the convention begins, which is just about 17 days from now. So you probably won't get it that quick, but you should get it early. And because she's not good on the stump. And they're going to come out of their convention with a bit of a bump. They always do. We did. We came out with a bump. Didn't last very long, but we did. So it would be good to have that debate, I think. And so we'll continue. By the way, here's something that I think is interesting. I wonder how much this is happening in other states. The Ohio Secretary of State has found 499 more. This is not the first round. This is the second round. More non-citizens registered to vote in the state of Ohio. And he has sent a note around to all of the local election commissions in the different states around the state of Ohio, directing local election officials to remove nearly 500 foreign national registrations from Ohio voter rolls. The suspected illegal registrations were detected as part of a statewide audit of Ohio's voter registration database. With a little more than 3 months to go before November's presidential election, and a little more than 2 months before early person and absentee voting begins in the Buckeye State, the need to clean up the rolls is becoming urgent every day. writes The Federalist. And by the way, it's not just Ohio. 30 minutes past the hour, time for the news.
Good evening. It is 6:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Well, we've had a little more sunshine poke out as the cloud cover has broken a bit down on Music Row. 86 degrees now. Another traffic report and your weekend weather are coming up. Multiple media outlets reporting that Sumner County Sheriff Roy Sonny Weatherford has died after serving the community for more than 40 years. In a posting on social media, the Sumner Mayor's office states in part, Sheriff Weatherford dedicated his life to the service and protection of our community, embodying the very essence of commitment, bravery, and integrity in every action and decision. He demonstrated an unwavering commitment to justice and the well-being of every citizen. Mr. Weatherford became the sheriff of Sumner County back in 2010. He began his career with the sheriff's office in August of 1985 after serving as a patrol officer in Portland, Tennessee. No further details currently available surrounding the sheriff's passing. We now turn to today's closing money news. With that, here is Chuck Sievertson.
From ABC News, Wall Street Now. Investors worried, analysts say, after today's monthly jobs report from the Labor Department came in lower than expectations, 114,000 new hires, and the unemployment rate rose to 4.3%, the highest since October of 2021. The Dow closed 611 points lower. The broader S&P 500 lost 100, and the Nasdaq index down 418. The government report showing the unemployment rate rose for the fourth straight month, and a sign that higher interest rates may be taking a bigger toll on businesses and consumers. The news shook financial markets around the world. Intel helped lead the market lower after reporting weaker than expected profits and suspending its dividend. Treasury yields dropped as expectations built for how deeply the Federal Reserve will cut its main interest rate in September. Benchmark U.S. crude oil fell to about $73.50 per barrel. Brent crude fell to over $76 a barrel.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
You know, the weather's getting warmer. That means grilling season is upon us. And if you're a fan of Legend Steakhouse like I am, you can enjoy some of those same flavors right at home, right on your very own grill. Take a walk down your local grocery store aisle, places like Walmart and Kroger, and look for Johnny Fleeman's very own brand. Now, his marinade, it's a proprietary blend, will give your steaks and chickens and chops a flavor that will hit a home run with family and friends. It's low in sodium, about a third of other brands, so you don't have to worry about over-marinating. Don't forget his honey mustard salad dressing. Good stuff, salad dressing. You can use it as a salad dressing or a dipping sauce for your favorite chicken fingers, fresh cut veggies or chips, a recipe used in his restaurants for over 35 years. And if your favorite grocer isn't stocking Johnny Fleeman products, ask them to do so. For more information, go to johnnyfleeman.com. And it goes without saying, for those times when you want someone else to do the cooking, they'll always be glad to see you at your nearest Legend Steakhouse for lunch or for dinner.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
It's 38 minutes now past the hour. We'll be with you for about another 20 minutes or so before we hand it over to Mark Levin, the great one. And he'll carry on through the rest of the evening on this Friday night. Glad that we're with you. Hope you have a good weekend planned. Spend some time with family. We want you to do that. Got a lot of stuff I want to try to plow through that, just didn't fit in here or there. But I think stuff you need to hear, like to get it across the goal line before we call it a week. Okay, here we go. Google exposed for omitting Donald Trump from search results. I mean, we know the mainstream media is going to support Kamala Harris. We know that social media is not a level playing field with a possible exception of X, right? We know that. We need to worry about search engines, because if you try to write President Donald, then it's supposed to give you a bunch of ideas of things, suggestions. That Donald Trump's name doesn't show up in any of those suggestions. You write President Donald, you would think that the first search would be Trump, but it's not. It's amazing. This is pointed out by Elon Musk by the way. If you were right, assassination attempts on TR, here is what you get on Google. Assassination attempt on Truman. Most assassination attempts in U.S. history, famous assassination attempts, assassination attempt on President Truman, assassination attempt on Harry Truman. You don't get anything about Donald Trump. How could that be? So, I mean, it's not a level playing field when you go to the Google machine, which is why, I don't know, go duck. That's what I would say. Okay, so you got the mainstream media backing the Democrat. You got the social media. You know that they're slanted, with the exception of X. You got the search engines. Now this, you ready? It gets worse. Study confirms that artificial intelligence is biased against conservatives. Research confirms that artificial intelligence, large language models, have leftist political preferences. An investigation assessed 24 what they call large language models, LLMs, including Google's Gemini, OpenAI's ChatGPT, and even Elon Musk's Grok, to determine political values, party affiliations, and personality traits. This was led by David Rosado of New Zealand's Otago Polytechnic Institute and used 11 different political orientation assessments, including the Political Compass Test and the ICENEX political test. I don't know, I never heard of them, but I guess they're the thing. The results indicated that the large language models predominantly produced answers categorized as progressive, democratic, and green. There you go. You can't win. I mean, the entire tech world seems to be slanted in a certain direction, doesn't it? All right, other news. Jobless claims surged to highest level in nearly a year. Ongoing joblessness hits highest rate since 2021. That's right. The news came out today. Jobless claims unexpectedly surged higher, rising by 14,000 to nearly a one-year high of 249,000. It was higher than even the most pessimistic forecast on Econoday's survey and far above the consensus estimate. The number of people collecting unemployment benefits beyond their initial week increased by 33,000 to 1.88 million, the highest number of continuing claims since 21. The biggest increase in new claims was in Michigan. Texas was hit by a hurricane recently, saw sizable increases that might be temporary. The Federal Reserve said this week that the risk of a labor market weakening was roughly balanced now with the risk of rising inflation. Okay, there's more. U.S. economy just added only 114,000 jobs in July, and unemployment, as you just heard, has gone up. It's gone from 4.1 to 4.3%. The disappointing payroll growth and the sudden jump in unemployment suggests that the economy may be heading into a recession. They're going by something known as the SAHM rule, S-A-H-M rule, SAHM, which says, well, this is complicated. It's beyond my understanding, but I'll give you what it says. The 4.3% unemployment rate brings the three-month average 50 basis points above the lowest three-month average over the last 12 months. That's called a threshold known as the SAHM rule. If you violate the SAHM rule, historically it indicates the beginning of a recession. Now, it's not a hard and fast economic rule, but it's often right. So that's why the markets fell so dramatically today. At one point, I think the Dow was down 1,000, ended up the day down 600. The NASDAQ is in correction territory. It was a bad week on the major indices, and that many people are now wondering, are we headed for a recession? The one thing that, again, bad news sometimes brings good news. If we are headed toward a recession, that would give the Fed the impetus to go ahead and cut rates. And maybe we would see in interest rates come down a bit. It's not expected to happen until September, but that would be before the election. I want to start talking more about this in the days ahead because I think this is we're not hearing enough talk about this. I think it's a dangerous thing. I think it's a bad thing. And I think that Fast Freddie O'Connell, the mayor of Nashville, is trying to pull a fast one on you. I think he really is. The Davidson County Election Commission confirmed that the Nashville Transit Initiative will appear on the November 5th ballot. The Election Commission vote was the last step in getting the initiative before voters in the upcoming general election. Nashvillians, he said, this is Freddie Mayor O'Connell speaking, we can do better than our current transportation reality. For a decade, we've conducted more than 70 transportation plans. We got more than 66,000 opinions from residents. It's time to stop planning. It's time to start doing. This is about working families, letting people feel more connected as a community, and bringing down the cost of living so that we can more easily afford to live here. Metro Council had unanimously approved the mayor's proposed transit program. The initiative, dubbed Choose How You Move, an all-access pass to sidewalk, signal, service, and safety, they love their alliteration, is to be implemented by WeGo, the Nashville Department of Transportation, Metro Planning, and the mayor's office. Now, this is the way they pitch it. You're going to get, if you pass this, you're going to get 86 miles of sidewalks. Whoop. I don't care a whit about sidewalks. You're going to get 12 community transit centers, right? You get 54 miles of upgraded corridors. That's a very vague sentence. And that's where I think he's playing games. Upgraded corridors. What does that mean? I think you're talking about bus lanes. And when you say upgraded, I think what that means is they're going to take away traffic lanes to put the buses on them. And nobody has told me that I'm wrong about that. They don't want to talk about that because they know how controversial that's going to be. There'll be a 24/7, 365 transit system involving buses and these 12 community transit centers where they're also, by the way, going to get involved in real estate and community development. You're going to get 35 new miles of upgraded bicycle facilities. Oh, again, they're going to take that away from traffic lanes. Mark my word. 600 intersections will get new traffic signaling. Right. The only thing that is in this thing that I like is that. We got to jump on this because I need straight answers from the mayor's office about what these upgraded corridors. And remember, they're trying to pull a fast one on you. And, the folks in Nashville, they'll vote for it. But I don't know. I think we're getting pulled a fast one and nobody's paying attention. If Nashville is booming, why is the current population lower than it was in 2020? Have you heard this? The census is taken every 10 years in the U.S. The years in between, researchers stay busy collecting population estimates. However, looking at the Davidson County data this year, something unusual caught folks' eyes, according to WKRN. Tennessee has added a huge number of new families, said Don Bruce, but the number of people who have lived here has actually gone down. In 2020, Davidson County had, okay, here we go. Davidson County currently has 712,334 people. But in 2020, the county had 715,884 people. That's a lot more. The most interesting thing that came with this estimate, I would say, is the decline in Davidson County population relative to the 2020 census count. What's driving that? If Nashville is booming, why is the population less than it was 4 years ago? Well, some people say it's COVID-19. When the economy goes south, even for a little while, jobs might be harder to find in the urban areas. I don't know if I believe that. I'll tell you what I think. I think it has to do with the fact that the cost of living in Davidson County has gotten so expensive that a lot of people who lived in Davidson County have moved to the suburbs. It may have something to do with the fact that people no longer have to work in the office. Those slackers. Those people are so lazy. But I mean, I'm telling you, I think that may have something to do with if I don't have to be in the office every day and then I don't have to commute, then why don't I live in a place that's cheaper, which is outside the city limits of Davidson County? I think that's what it is. I really do think that's what it is. And then finally, I'll probably end on this. Tennessee Appeals Court to review the Covenant shooter case. From WSMV, nearly a month after a Davidson County judge decided the Covenant school shooter's writings would not be released, the Tennessee Star and the Tennessee Firearms Association are appealing that ruling. Thank you. A notice of appeal comes after Judge Aisha Miles ruled that the shooter's journals, writings, and drawings would remain sealed because federal copyright law and the school security exemption to state public records law prohibited the record's public release. The Star and the Firearms Association among 5 parties that initially sued to gain access to the materials. The attorney representing Clayton Renee Brewer and the National Police Officers Association tell WSMV4 investigates they will not be appealing the trial court's decision. And so far, the Tennessean and Senator Todd Gardenshire have not indicated if they will join the appeal. But the Tennessee Star and the Tennessee Firearms Association is in on an appeal. Thank you. 50 minutes now past the hour. And listen, let the team at Restoration Wellness help you achieve your summer goals. I mean, really, do you want to lose a little weight here before it's all over with? Really, you should think about it. They're the leaders of weight loss management in Wilson County. They're conveniently located in Lebanon. Call the Restoration Wellness team today at 615-470-8124 or visit them at their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation today. Now, my friends Carly and Jamie, just lovely people, will take care of you like you're part of the family. Be part of the 1,000 patients who've already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program there at Restoration Wellness and Med Spa. I am one of them. I am losing weight like crazy. I'm down 25 pounds. And every day when I get on the scales, it's a bit of good news. I'm getting skinnier and skinnier. And it's been an easy process. And I'm not hungry. That's another thing. Restoration Wellness considers your unique needs, your lifestyles, and your goals. So if your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or just improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Find out about the newest technology in weight loss management. Go to restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.